Major announcement. The San Jose Earthquakes are bringing us out to their big match against LAFC at Levi Stadium on May 4th. Tickets are going on sale this week. It's the biggest Cinco de Mayo party on the West Coast, featuring Mexican national team legends, celebrities, live music, bandas, dancing, and much more. Over 45,000 people came to last year's match, and it was absolutely incredible. Looking at the match, last year the Earthquakes beat LAFC 2-1. LAFC got their goal through Dennis Bouanga, but San Jose Earthquakes responded with their star, with their stud, Cristian Espinosa, scoring a brace. So make sure to buy your tickets this week as they go on sale to watch an awesome match and also to see us, the Give and Go Boys, over in San Jose.
Yeah, bro, it's going to be an absolute party at Levi Stadium with the San Jose Earthquakes hosting the biggest Cinco de Mayo party on the West Coast. We got invited, and I hope everybody shows up because, I mean, little fun fact, I've actually have a little history with San Jose, bro. I was out there with a tech internship for a couple months, and I found myself going to every single San Jose Earthquake home game that I could find myself in, and the vibes were immaculate, dude. So I can only imagine the type of event, festivity, and party that they're going to put on for Cinco de Mayo. And to boot, we have a crazy MLS matchup between the San Jose Earthquakes and LAFC. Shout out San Jose for hosting such an awesome party, and we're going to be there, and we hope you are too.
The 2023 Asian Cup has finally arrived. The 18th edition of this tournament, my friend. It will be taking place in Qatar, a place that is not unknown to us after it hosted the incredible 2022 FIFA World Cup. This tournament features the 24 best Asian teams in the world, and Qatar is a defending champion. And brother, have you heard the theme song, the official tournament song for this tournament? Hadiaf.
Hadaf. Great song, man. Truly, so hopeful. I think you were saying earlier, it sounded like kind of like a Disney song. Mm-hmm. Beautiful melody. The lyrics are a little crazy at times, but it's so hopeful. It's a great song overall.
Yeah, man. Bro. It really puts you in the mood for what awaits us in Asia. What a great, hopeful, optimistic ending credits type of song. And I just wanted to kind of round out everything that this tournament encompasses because something special awaits us, bro. And I want to get right into it because this is one of those that you have to pull out your notebook for. We got a lot of teams to dissect here, 24 teams in total, 24 different teams to talk about and to predict how this tournament will go for them. Mm-hmm. And let's just get right into it, my friend.
Oh, dude, I'm so excited. I've been waiting for this shoot for the last like 2 to 3 months, man. The last time we had an Asian Cup, 5 years ago. 5. Mm-hmm. It seems like a lifetime since Qatar last lifted the trophy. And I think the way that Asian football is heading towards is a really exciting direction. There's so much talent in the West, in the Middle East, but also in the Far East where Japan and South Korea lie too. This is going to be a hell of a tournament. And dude, let's dissect it. Nobody asked us to do this, but we're going to go as deep as we can, man. Let's go.
Let's go. All right, so to start, we have Group A, which features the host of this tournament, Qatar, paired up alongside Lebanon, China, and Tajikistan. Let's key in on Qatar first since they are the defending champions of this tournament, having won it in 2019. Now currently coached by Tintin Marquez. What are your thoughts on this Qatari team heading into this tournament? Are they going to be able to do the same thing they did 4 or 5 years ago, or is this a completely new team that we're expecting to see?
It's a bit of deja vu saying Qatar are hosts of yet another international tournament. They were hosts in 2011 for this AFC Asian Cup. Obviously, they just held one of the most high-tech World Cups the world has ever seen last year. And now here they are once again, hosts here in 2023, technically 2024, AFC Asian Cup. But, you know, before we get into the analysis of that, I just want to say it actually wasn't supposed to be like this. China were the original hosts. Mm-hmm. And due to their zero COVID policy, which is completely understandable, AFC had no choice but to look elsewhere for hosts. So they did a quick scan of the AFC Confederation. Well, obviously there's an oasis in the desert and it's Qatar, bro. Like, I mean, the facilities that they have, it was an easy choice to just kind of give the hosting rights to Qatar. And I mean, look, low key, I'm actually really excited for it because last year's World Cup was just insane visually. Like every stadium was so unique, so high tech, so pretty. So the fact that we get to go immediately back there, kind of fun.
Yeah,
honestly, kind of fun.
Dude, it's an interesting aspect because I'm gonna feel a little bit of nostalgia being back in these stadiums. And once I see the Lusail host another final yet again, bro, like I might get flashbacks, bro, of what just happened there 12 months ago, dude. So it's actually really crazy that we get to see the second opportunity for Qatar to host, and I do think it's merited because they put so much work into preparing that country to host a major tournament. Why not just do it again, but for the Asian Cup? I'm all for it.
All for it. And as you said, Qatar are the reigning champions of the AFC Asian Cup. And in case you didn't know, let me remind everybody here. The way that they won it in 2019 was one of the most improbable victories at any international tournament ever. Dude, they conceded only one goal the entire tournament, and that was in the final against Japan 3-1. And that's the thing. They killed Japan. It wasn't even close. So they shut out every single team that they played in the road to that final. And dude, they were scoring goals like it was nothing. 3-0, 4-0. I think they had a 6-0 at one point or something like that. Almoez Ali, who was here at this tournament again, scored 9 goals. 9 goals, almost double digits in a little international tournament. Absolutely ridiculous. But when you look at it, they had a lot going for them, bro. Like the amount of motivators that they had going into that tournament, it kind of made sense. You had an excellent coach in Felix Sanchez, who, by the way, if you're Ecuadorian, you should be really excited about that. But then they also knew that they were going to host the World Cup a couple of years later. So they had a good crop of talent, and it all came together to create this like beautiful moment for Qatar in 2019. And here's what's crazy is that after that, they played in the Copa America, they played in a couple of Gold Cups, and each time, I think the performance has kind of dipped. And going into 2022, I think they hit their lowest point. Because let's just be honest here, the World Cup was an absolute disaster for Qatar. Absolute disaster. The amount of I've never seen a team so nervous as Qatar in that, other than in that opener against Ecuador. And they never found themselves. And that's the thing, is that I think since they won it in 2019, Qatar has slowly lost their identity and completely lost themselves last year at the World Cup. And so that's where we are right now. Qatar are in a state of picking up the pieces. They still have a lot of good talent. And now it's just a matter of, can they put it together to go and defend their title? I think it's going to be tough. I'm going to be completely honest with you. The talent's there. There's still some really, really good players. But I just think the situation doesn't look good. Again, they don't really have that same motivation that they had 5 years ago. Carlos Queiroz was appointed as the coach after the World Cup.
Queiroz ball. And
I was actually okay with that decision. But he left literally a month ago in December. A month before the tournament, and they hired Tintin Marquez, who is coaching Qatar for the last 5 years from Al Wakra. I think it's a good move because he knows the league very, very well. But again, there's just a lot of unknown with Qatar right now, and ultimately, I just don't think it bodes well for their chances of defending the title.
Yeah, as a contender, I can't put them in that contender conversation because of that. I mean, they've had a crazy ride. You've highlighted that, bro. They beat Mexico at one point. 1-0 here in the United States. But overall, I agree. When it comes to these international tournaments, they've dipped and they haven't shown out the way that's been expected of them. I do wonder, what does that experience end up resulting in? Because they've had so much international tournament experience in the past 5 years, more than any other team, I think, in the world. With the fact that they competed in the Copa America and the World Cup and the Gold Cup as well, they have been so good about making these appearances and getting these chances to, feel that big stage presence. Will that ever result in something positive? I think at this tournament specifically, it won't. But when it comes to getting out of this group, I think it will. And that's why I ultimately do see Qatar making it out.
Yeah, I actually completely agree, because when you look at the squad, all you see is familiar faces. You have Al-Sheeb in goal. And then up in front of him for the center backs, you still have Boualem Kouki, Bassam Al-Rawi, Salman Tarek. You still have Roro on the right back. And then in the midfield, captain Hassan Al-Khaidos is there. Hatem is there as well. Up top, Almoez Ali, Akram Afif. The same guys that have been playing with each other for the last 5-6 years are literally still here. And I agree. I think it will be enough to get out of this group for Qatar. I just think all of the external factors that have been leading up to this unfortunately won't allow them to have a deep run. There's some new faces too, though, that Tintin Marquez has tried to employ over the last couple of friendlies. Khalid Munir, Lucas Mendez, who just got naturalized, both played with Al Wakra with Marquez. And so that's interesting. I kind of like that. Why not just bring the players that you know really, really well? And then, of course, there's other players like Mashal, Mohamed Wad, who've kind of been in the fringes. I think they'll see them get more playing time in this tournament. But, yeah, I just think Qatar won't make a deep run, but they still got talent. They still got some good players.
That being said, though, I think we can both agree that when it comes to this group, Qatar is the better team with more quality to offer in comparison to all the other teams, which then leads me to my next question. Of the three remaining teams, Tajikistan, China, Lebanon, which would you consider to be the weakest?
Oh, that's a crazy question because honestly, the way I see this entire group for second place position, I think it's wide open. I think it's wide open. And there's several reasons why. Each one's a little bit different for each team. The weakest team?
Weakest, though. I need the weakest one right here. Essentially the one that will not find qualification or even have a chance to do a third place finish.
That's tough because I truly think any permutation can occur in this group for second and third place. If China and Tajikistan get through, won't be surprised. If Lebanon and Tajikistan go through, won't be surprised. I honestly don't see a true weak link. Now, maybe external factors, you might be able to say Tajikistan because this is their first AFC Asian Cup ever. They're debutants, and honestly, dude, what a story. And let's just go in on this team real quick because they've only been playing football in Tajikistan for 30 years, technically, because they arose due to the dissolution of the Soviet Union. But it's been a crazy rise for them because they've essentially started from nothing. And over the last, let's say, 5-6 years, they've slowly just continued to improve based on all of the results. And now they find themselves here at the biggest tournament that they could get themselves into continentally. Yep. So for Tajikistan, this is a huge moment for them to just kind of tell all of the rest of Asia that, hey, we're here and this might not be the last you see of us.
I don't think so.
I think Tajikistan right now are on a really good, steady progression with at least how they're playing football right now.
Yeah, they're ranked 106 right now in FIFA's rankings. Their highest FIFA ranking since 2013. In 10 years, they've progressed so much in this sport, and they've shown it already on the pitch. The second youngest team at the Asian Cup with an average of 24.62 years of age. So I think that just goes to show they're putting a lot of their efforts into developing this country, and they're right at the beginning of that process right now with how young this team is.
Yeah, and actually I like that because the way that I see Tajikistan is they're developing the game right in this country. I've watched a lot of AFC Champions League this year, and I saw Istiklol, Tajikistan's champions, participate in it. And they were in a really tough group with Al Duhail, Iranian giants Persepolis, and the great Al Nassr with Cristiano Ronaldo. And yes, obviously they didn't get through the group, but my God, in every single game, they competed and they showed up, and even at times taking some good leads. So it's the football that is played in Tajikistan is that of a very high level. Sure, the efficiency is not going to be there. The execution is not going to be high level, but the way that they play, I think, is the right way.
I was thinking that too, man. When I was catching up on their highlights and just seeing how they've been competing this past year, they have a team unity to them, bro. Yeah. And they have chemistry amongst themselves. I agree. They're not clinical finishers. They're not like these super flair type players, but there's a philosophy that I see them trying to execute. It might still be too early to be able to compete against those elite teams, but there's something good there, bro. There's something good that I think will result in them not getting fourth place, in my personal opinion. I think they're going to do a little bit better than what's being presented.
I actually completely agree. Out of all the teams here, I actually have Tajikistan not finishing in fourth place.
Perfect.
And I do think they can pull off something special here. It's going to be tough, though.
Yeah.
I mean, this is their first time, but it's also kind of the nice thing is that they truly have nothing to lose. No other Tajik has played in this tournament before, so there's no legacy to maintain. They get to define it right here. So it's really exciting to see it. They're the only debutants in the tournament, so this is going to be a really fun story to watch for Tajikistan.
Yeah. Currently second place right now in the World Cup qualifying group, led by Petar Sigert, I would assume is the way you say it, the Croatian. And some really impressive results with a 6-1 win over Pakistan. They drew against Jordan recently, 1-1. This team has something special, and I want to see it be executed on the biggest stage in Asia. Now, one team that the team in this group that really had me kind of starstruck when I was reading upon them and catching up and researching, and the whole time I was curious, I was like, man, what does Soltero think about this specific country? Because the way they play can be so interesting. They can play the top teams well, but they still find a way to lose time and time again. Their population is incredibly huge, yet they've never been able to achieve something big on one of the biggest stages in Asia. And if you don't already know, I'm talking about China, man. China, I think, is such an enigma in how good they are in damn near every other sport that exists in this world. But when it comes to football, the most popular one, they're ass, man. Yeah. They really have been. And there hasn't been much progression within the country in this sport. I'm curious to know your thoughts on China and how you see them panning out in this tournament, being that they are technically the second highest rated team in this group and that they're led right now by Alexander Jankovic.
China, bro. I hate to do this, but I have honestly nothing but disappointment when I think about China. You already said it. No progression, but you could apply that over the last decade. They haven't done anything to prove that they can crack into the big five of the Asian Confederation. And when they do face the top 6 teams in Asia, they compete. Sure, they can keep it tight, but bro, they never win. Never. That has not changed over the last 10 years. And for China, even in AFC Asian Cup performances, it's almost always the same. They get out of the group stage and then they make an early exit in the knockout stage. Nothing has changed. And when I look at China's ability here in 2024, I low-key kind of see the same thing. And it just kind of sucks because it's obviously not their fault, but I was actually really excited that they were going to host this tournament because I think the people of China need some sort of motivator. They needed some sort of inspiration. And if hosting the tournament wasn't going to inspire the players, then maybe it would have inspired like a 14-year-old kid in the goddamn stands, bro. But now, unfortunately, they're just not going to get that, and that sucks. Because I truly do think that hosting a 24-team Asian Cup would have done a lot for China over the next 10 years. But again, it's not their fault, but again, it just adds to that feeling of disappointment because when I look at this Chinese team, truly, I don't think there's anything positive to look forward to.
Yeah, when I see the way they play and how they go about trying to get results in matches, it's so clear to me that all they can do is hope that their opponent makes a mistake. That's it. They can't really impose themselves on a team and play any sort of type of fluid football to generate a goal-scoring opportunity. And I hate that, bro. I hate that. There's nothing positive there. They have very little midfield presence as well. You watch a Chinese game, bro, it's back and forth for 90 minutes because it's just nonstop, no midfield presence. I think when I think about where I see them finishing off in this group, for me, it is below Tajikistan because I think the team unity that Tajikistan has just offers much more productivity on the pitch than what China has to offer in their style of play.
Yeah, there is one thing going for China, and it's just the fact that they do have experience, right? They pretty much appear in every single Asian Cup. They're always here. And again, they have a decent track record of getting out of the group stage. But it's because of that, dude. Like, they have nothing going for them offensively. They have Wu Lei, who's 32 years of age right now. He's kind of past it a little bit, but he was a baller in his time, and he's still their best player. They'll be looking to him to hopefully, look for some sort of creativity. Great stint at Espanyol, by the way. I just want to put that out there. Fucking loved watching him play in La Liga. But he's back in China now. And I digress. Going back to how they play it's just pure defensive. Instead of trying to outplay their opponents, they just try to outbully them physically. And the thing is, it works when their opponent is weaker than them. It works when their opponent doesn't have an offense. And when you look at, let's say, maybe Lebanon, or low-key, maybe even Tajikistan to an extent, China might be able to take advantage of the fact that these two teams are way less experienced and maybe don't have as good of offenses that could hurt China. So that's the only good thing going for China is that they're very defensive and they can be organized, but they have zero going for them offensively.
So based off of the 3 teams we've talked about already, Qatar, Tajikistan, and China, that's actually the order that I have it in. I have Tajikistan pulling off a crazy result, getting second place in this group, and China finishing in third. My question to you is, do you have China, where do you have them then? In second, third, or fourth?
Damn, bro, that's crazy because I was expecting to come in here and vouch for Tajikistan.
Damn, dude.
But I was wrong, bro, because I have them in second place as well.
Wow, okay.
I think, as you already said, their collectivity, their unity that they have, I think will outdo the physicality of China and the wild card that is Lebanon. I have Qatar finishing top of the group.
I think pretty easily.
I just think they are still one of the top teams in Asia from a quality perspective. I think it will shine here to some certain extent. And for China's interesting because they could end in third or fourth. I won't be surprised. Or honestly, if Tajikistan get a little nervous, China could get in second.
They could. It's not what I'm hoping for, but it could.
Yeah,
it could.
They really could. I really do think that the second place spot is wide open. But I think... God, this gets tough.
It's just so even between these three teams, bro. It really is. And it's when it's low-level football like this, it really could go either way, bro. A dog could come on the pitch and impact the flow of the match, man.
Yeah, man.
It's different out there, man.
It's different out there. I think for the experience, I'll go China in third.
Yeah.
But, I mean...
Yeah. I mean, what difference does it make?
Yeah.
To be noted, 4 out of 6 third-place teams will qualify into the next round. So maybe they can be part of that small pack, or maybe they can be part of the 2 teams that don't end up qualifying despite finishing in third. That's what I'm hoping for because I'm here for the Chinese downfall.
And what's interesting, though, is Tajikistan played China first.
Yeah, that's going to be massive,
man. That's
man.
massive. It's a huge opener because if Tajikistan can assert themselves and get 3 points off the bat, then it's done. They're getting second place, and China's all of a sudden scrambling against Lebanon and Qatar.
Yeah, in the meantime, Lebanon will start off their tournament against Qatar, and I think that's tough. It's so tough to start off a tournament like this with a game that you're already being expected to lose in. And I do see Lebanon as the weakest team in this group with a 107th FIFA ranking coached by Miodrag Radulovic, the oldest team at the Asian Cup with an average of 29.76 years of age. That's producer Rudd, bro. That's that age right there, man.
A geezer, man.
A geezer, bro. But with a really, really interesting player.
Please.
You know, I immediately, man, my Mexican genes just started fucking alarming me that something of my nature was in this team. No. Daniel Laud plays for Atlante, bro. Atlante in La Liga de Expansión. 6 goals this season, bro. And he's had 10 years in Monterrey and with Querétaro.
Right.
We have a Mexican turned Lebanese player playing for this Lebanon team, bro. Insane.
Crazy, bro. There's a fucking Mexican in the Asian Cup. They found their way through, man. And honestly, I'm here for it. Like, crazy that a Liga de Expansión player is getting recognized in a massive tournament like this.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy. And he just got the call up too, like 2 months ago. And honestly, it looks like he's down for it. Kind of cool.
Yeah.
But whether he starts or not, I'm not 100% sure. But what's crazy is that the CONCACAF connection doesn't end there. Suni Saad also got the call up for Lebanon. He plays in Malaysia right now.
Okay.
But if you're a Sporting KC fan, you will know him because he played for Kansas City for like 5 years.
Oh, wow.
In the mid 2010s, and then he moved over to Asia after he kind of fell
Kansas
off.
Kansas City to Asia is one of the craziest culture shocks you could ever receive. Jesus Christ.
And he's like born in America. Like he's American with Lebanese descent.
Yeah.
Just like Lahoud receiving the calls of his ancestors to kind of perform for Lebanon.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens, man.
Yeah, this one he's born in Veracruz, bro. Like it's crazy how Mexican this guy is. I think 24 years of age, but he was never gonna get that Mexican national team call up. So I get it. Go to your other half and see what you can do over there. And I'm interested to see if he does get that playing time for Lebanon. But as for the team as a whole, bro, they had a really rough 2022. Going winless in 6 full games. Their most impressive victory since then is beating India 1-0 in a friendly. And we'll talk about India soon, but all I'll say is that it's tough if that's your most impressive thing to show.
For sure.
They made it to the semis of the SAF championship, but those teams would lose to my Uncle Tony, my Aunt Rena, bro. Those teams are fucking ass, dude. Ass.
Please.
And ultimately, I think they get last because they just won't be able to string the results or get the momentum needed to actually compete, especially since they're starting the tournament off against Qatar. That's one of the worst situations to be in. You then have to get points against a Chinese team or against a Tajikistan team that we predict will actually have some momentum behind them. I think it's going to be really tough for Lebanon to find any sort of flow in this tournament, and that's going to result in them getting fourth place for me.
I have Lebanon finishing in fourth place, but it's kind of crazy because I don't want to be too harsh here. Back in 2019, Lebanon actually had a great outing. I saw them play, and it was good football. It wasn't as bad as I think a lot of people might have in their heads, or at least what their recent results kind of look like. The reason why I just don't have Lebanon getting out of the group stage is because they just don't have an offense. And it really does show. It showed in 2019. I don't think much has changed. Radulovic, as you just said, was the coach back then, but he just got reappointed literally a month ago. So they're having a little bit of coaching debacle right now. They have some decent players, and I want to highlight a couple of them.
Go for it.
First off, 36-year-old, I believe he's 36. Their captain, Hassan Matouk. Decent player, but he's just old. He's a little bit past it. Hilal Al-Helwe, huge 6'2", number 9, your classic physical forward. He'll be looking to get on the end of a lot of balls. In the midfield, I remember they had this huge central defensive midfielder, Felix Melki, I believe was his name. I believe he received the call-up once again, too. And then there's Dre D's a good forward as well for this team. So they have a little bit going for them. But overall, I just think they won't be able to break a defensive China and a unified Tajikistan. So for those reasons, I just have Lebanon finishing fourth.
Wow.
And it sounds a little harsh because I don't see them as a really, really bad team, but pit them against these type of teams, and I just don't see them getting out.
So the final group predictions then were aligned to start off.
Okay.
Qatar first, Tajikistan second, China third, and Lebanon in fourth.
Yep.
All right, man. We'll see how this one goes, but it'll be an interesting group. I definitely do think overall it's one of the weaker ones.
Absolutely. And even when you look at the top team in Qatar, out of all the big six, I have Qatar as the weakest of those six. So for sure, one of the weaker groups in this tournament.
Next up is Group B, which has Uzbekistan, Australia, Syria, and India. And I actually want to key in on one of these teams because when you think about the population, the people that have consumed the Give and Go specifically, the people that truly appreciate our show, that truly have seen us time and time again since the inception of our show 2 years ago, there's two nations that stand out. Number one, right here at home, America, the USA, our first and number one demographic that watches our content. That one makes sense to us, right?
God bless.
The home of the Give and Go Gophers. But number two, bro, is none other than India. And it's by a fine margin, bro. More views than the United Kingdom. Indians have been following us for so long, and not just that, they've been asking us for these past 2 years, bro, in the comment section to just talk about their team. And we've been waiting for that moment to actually dive deep into what this Indian national team can do and where they're at as a whole country, right? Because they've been trying to develop the sport over there. They've been trying to make a name for themselves in this region, but we never really had a chance to talk about them because they didn't compete for the World Cup and they got eliminated pretty quickly out of World Cup qualification. And there really wasn't a tournament for us in the past 2 years where we could truly key in on this Indian national team. But it's our second home, bro. Our second home. These people have been waiting for so long. And finally, India will be talked about. Finally, we can sit here. Reynoso Soltero can speak about this Indian national team. Maybe there's something magical happening for these Indian people. They can finally comment on a video that actually talks about their goddamn team. This could be a beautiful, beautiful moment right now here for the Give and Go. And I want to throw this alley-oop to you by posing you this question. Does India make it out of this group?
No. No. They're finishing third at best.
Damn it.
And the thing is, I wish this was under better circumstances, bro. I really do wish. But literally all I can say about India is they're not bad. They're not bad.
No.
But would I call them good? No, I wouldn't call them that either.
You wouldn't do that.
I would say they're bang average, maybe even a little subpar.
No.
And that's about it. Now, has the game progressed a little bit? Maybe. I mean, they had a decent 2019. They actually had a crazy start, actually. They beat Thailand 4-1. 4-1. And what's crazy is that Thailand ended up making out of the group that year and India didn't.
Yeah.
And I think the same thing's going to happen here. The problem is that this group's pretty tough when you consider that you have Australia and Uzbekistan waiting in the banks.
Oh, they got hoed, bro. Yeah. They got fucked by being in this group. I'm not going to lie to them.
Yeah.
If they wanted a shot at doing something special, it's not going to happen in this group.
Oh, no, it sucks. And if they get killed against those teams, then even if they finish in third place, they might be one of the worst third place finishers and not even get into the knockout stage. So it's really unfortunate for India that they got this draw. But like I said, they're not bad. But I mean, there's a lot of teams that are better than India. There's a lot of Asian teams that are better than India. Let's just be honest.
Our Indian brothers. I apologize, but I completely agree with Soltero. Yeah, I have this team actually finishing in dead last in this group. I do. India, a team that recently won the SAF championship, if that's something to be worth noting. I mean, it's silverware. You know, silverware goes far for the mentality of these players and the country as a whole. Currently coached by Igor Stimac, the Croatian. But their track record has been interesting, man. It's been interesting with losses to Bahrain, Jordan, Lebanon, and Malaysia, man. They're missing that ability to enter not even like the elite level of Asia, but just that next step, bro.
That's the thing, is that all those teams you listed, I would actually put them a little above India. And so India can't compete with the opponents that are just slightly better than them. So yeah.
I think the one thing that the Indian fans that are realists, the ones that are realists and not optimistic about some bullshit, the ones that are realists, all they're hoping for is a good result against Syria. That's your moment in this tournament. Defeat the Syrians, bro. Yeah. Whoop their asses. Get a victory to show people that, hey, maybe not now, but in 2027 for the Saudi Arabia AFC Asian Cup, we can maybe do something then. Because obviously it's not going to happen against Australia. It's not going to happen against Uzbekistan. But that game where the two worst teams in this group face off against each other, that will be the shining moment for either country, honestly, to get a moment on this stage and to, you know, have their moment of happiness that I think will go a long way for these countries.
Yeah, and to be honest, I actually do have India beating Syria in that faithful match, thus giving them a third place finish in this group. Watching Mumbai City this year was a bit of a chore, I'll be honest, but it was a lot better than I was expecting, man. They played against Al Hilal, also Nabahor, two very, very good teams in the AFC Champions League this year. And the Indians, honestly, yes, they got killed in every occasion, but they played some decent football. And I do think it translates to their ability at the national team where they can beat teams that are weaker than them. I think that's what India's done well as of late is they beat opponents that are truly lesser than them, but yes, they do struggle to beat opponents that are better than them. But I actually do see Syria as weaker in this specific case. So I have India finishing in third.
I actually have them finishing in fourth here because I see them both actually tying in the match that they face off against each other. Okay. And I think India will get worse results against the top teams than Syria because of their play style. Just to highlight some Indian players that I think are worth highlighting. I mean, you have Sunil Chhetri.
39.
39, bro. 39 years old, still going. I wonder if he can actually be effective for this team at this tournament. But it's just crazy that, you know, imagine if he was 15 years younger and just now joining the Indian national team.
That'd be different.
That'd be different, bro.
That'd be very different.
It'd be so different because he scored so many goals for this team throughout his entire career, but it was for an Indian side that, I mean, has barely made a name for themselves at the footballing stage. Now with what they're becoming, with their appearances in this tournament, with what they're trying to become, it would have been amazing to have a fully young, promising Chhetri to just lead the offensive line for India. So saddened by that, but at the same time, paying a lot of respect to that legend who is 39 years old playing in this tournament. Yeah. Any other players that stand out to you? Because I just saw a lot of guys that play at Mumbai City or at Mahum Bagan Super Giant.
No, I think there's one player named Vikram Singh who plays for Mumbai City. He really stood out for me when he played in the Champions League. Other than that, I just think there are a bunch of just solid players that, again, are playing well for India, but in the grand scheme of things, I think it will be very tough to play against very high-level talent in this group.
And I think that helps me perfectly transition over to the next team that we were just talking about. Let's talk about Syria, man.
Talk about Syria.
Syria in this group, number 91 in FIFA rankings, coached by Hector Cooper, the Argentine coach. Bro, how many of these countries actually have a coach that's from their country, bro? Damn near every single one has a coach that's from outside their country.
Dude, no, for real.
Outside of Japan, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a stat. I don't know what the official stat is.
Australia, 2 of Graham Arnold.
Yeah.
But no, seriously, maybe out of the 20, I bet it's
got to be like
3?
A handful.
Yeah.
It has to be a handful. An Argentine leading the Syrian side. The way I've seen them, bro, they keep games incredibly tight. A lot of 1-0 losses, but also a very tough ability to generate any offense for themselves. I think their ability to keep the games close will actually help them against these top teams, but their inability to generate anything will also bite them in the goddamn ass. So for me, Syria, I do see as them and India being on a very similar level, and it's a toss-up between both these teams to see who gets third and who gets fourth.
Yeah, it is that inability to create chances why I have Syria finishing bottom of this table. They can keep it tight. They're very organized and well-drilled team. I don't want to discredit them for that, but dude, they just don't have an offense. And I see India having a little bit more chance creation in that game when they do play, and I'm hoping that they score 1 or 2 goals. And that's why I have India finishing above Syria. But just so I can give some love towards Syria, my first introduction to them was back in 2017 when, dude, they almost got really close to qualifying for the World Cup in 2018. They were in the Asian playoff against Australia, lost tragically in extra time to go to the interconfederational playoff, but Syria got crazy close. And in the grand scheme of things, the fact that Syria even got that close was absolutely ridiculous. But they were a good team back then. That's my problem with them. Since 2017, year to year, Syria have slowly declined. Their offense, what was once good, honestly, between 2015 and 2017, has completely disappeared. And now they find themselves here in 2024 with literally no offense, bro. They have Omar Kurbin, who is going to lead the line for them, but he just doesn't have any help. He has zero help. What's really interesting, though, about this team is Hector Cooper, I guess with his Argentinian linkage, has brought 4 South Americans to this team. I guess, one plays in Peru, the other 3 play in Argentina, which is crazy, bro. It's nuts. And so I don't even know how that Syrian descent works, but they are here.
Oh, that's a reach right there, bro.
I know. Maybe it's their grandfather or something, bro. It works. It's legal.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting. All 4 South American players that will be playing just got the call up maybe 2-3 months ago when Cooper joined Syria. So that'll be interesting to see them play. But overall, I just think their lack of finishing is going to do them in and have them finish 4th.
See ya, Syria. I think it's the slogan for this team this tournament. Thank you for coming. Let's talk about the fun teams in this tournament then, bro. Let's talk about the fun teams because this group is purely top heavy with, Asian studs, Australia. Yeah. And one of the most feisty, many would say one of the most fun teams in this tournament, Uzbekistan joining the group as well. This is such a debate for me between who gets first place in this group, but also just acknowledging the state of both these teams. Australia maybe not being considered a top 2, maybe even top 3 contender, but always having that ability to go deep in this tournament. And Uzbekistan on an insane rise as they've had insane games to prepare themselves for this tournament.
Oh, yeah.
Where do you stand on both these teams? Which team do you want to talk about first as the one that stands out to you the most right now between both of them?
Well, let's just start with Australia because when you consider Asian top teams, Australia has been in that conversation for the last 15 years. And even if their lineup doesn't look as exciting as, say, a Japan or a South Korea, Australia always perform, always. Winning it in 2015 in Australian soil. This Australian team had a really good 2022 FIFA World Cup campaign as well. So coming into this tournament, I honestly do see Australia just straight up as title contenders. I'm not saying they'll win it, but if there's teams that could win it, I'm definitely putting Australia in that conversation.
I agree. No, I agree. They're my top 4. If I have my top 4 list of contenders, they're number 4 for me.
Yeah.
Number 4.
What's really interesting, though, is once I took a gander at the lineup, there's something that I really want to point out here. So this is a list of players that are not coming to this tournament.
Yeah. Give it to me.
No Milos Degenek from Red Star Belgrade. No Massimo Luongo. No Aydin Hrustic. No Aaron Moy, who's retired now. No Jamie McLaren. No Awar Mabil. And no Matthew Leckie. That's a lot of experience that is not being called up. There's still some familiar faces. Matty Ryan, Harry Suter, Jackson Irvine will feature in that midfield. And then up top you have Craig Goodwin, Mitchell Duke, and Martin Boyle. who tragically missed out on the World Cup last year due to injury, is now getting that call-up for Australia in a massive tournament. But there's a lot of experience that is not going to be at this tournament. When you look at it, the starting 11 will have basically 5 to 6 new faces. And that's crazy, bro. But here's the thing. I trust Graham Arnold. I really do. On a short-term perspective, this actually probably will hurt their title chances. I do think it will. I think if they brought all of these young players mixed in with all of their veteran experience, I actually could see Australia making a very deep run and even finding themselves in a final. But the fact that this is going to be a very inexperienced team, I think is going to hurt overall their title chances. But I think what Graham Arnold's trying to do here, he's looking at the bigger picture, man. And I actually love it. If Australia's in a transitionary phase, what better way to put new players in a high-pressure situation than just doing it at a cup? Just doing it at a cup tournament. Because now they'll have the experience and the chemistry of playing with each other at a singular tournament, and then they can take all of that experience that they learned with each other and have a really good World Cup qualifying campaign. And then by the time 2026 rolls around, this will be a new Australian side, but one that knows each other and one that will be able to compete. And let's just be honest. What Graham Arnold did at the 2022 FIFA World Cup with Australia was astonishing, bro. I had Australia going to the tournament as one of the weakest teams. They got out of the group stage.
Glad we're mentioning
this,
but
it was off of pure bravery, pure grit. When a lot of teams did not have it. Denmark. I'm looking at fucking Denmark right now. But Australia did. They didn't have the quality, but Graham Arnold set these guys up to succeed, but to succeed the Australian way. So I don't care who he's calling up. I have full faith in Australia's coach, Graham Arnold.
I think it's insane, man. The Argentina prediction gets highlighted so much, but people forget how wrong we were about Australia, man. We rated them as one of the worst teams going to that World Cup, and they proved us absolutely wrong with the way that they played. You know, losing 2-1 to the world champions even and playing a really feisty game. Yeah. But what I really like about Graham Arnold and just the whole federation entirely is the way they go about preparation, the way they run themselves as almost like a club, man, because the teams they played against this past year just to prepare for this tournament, they faced off against Argentina twice, only allowed 2 goals to them each time. They faced off against Ecuador, against Mexico, and even England, bro. One of the top European sides, only allowing 1 goal to England. And I think one thing that I want to focus and key in on for this Australian side is their defense. I think their defense is one of the best ones that any Asian team has to offer, led by Harry Sutar, who's over at Leicester now, played in the Premier League for a little bit before they got relegated, now in the Championship, but by far one of the best defenders in this tournament as a whole. And then you got Matthew Ryan at back, who's always been just such a solid and reliable goalkeeper for this Australian team and a leader at the back. I think defense goes really, really far in these tournaments, man. And the fact that I rate Australia as a top 3, maybe even top 2 defense in this tournament, I think will allow them to be successful in the long run. And they still have what I would consider a little bit of a mini core, if you will, with Jackson Irvine playing, Matthew Ryan, Harry Sutar, Mitchell Duke, Martin Boyle. Like they still, despite losing so many guys, they still have guys that can step up and showcase themselves at a very high and intelligent level. They last won this tournament in 2015. And to me, the craziest stat about them as well is they're the second biggest Asian give and go fan base at number 8 in our rankings as far as who watches our content the most. Australians, man, they love the give and go, bro.
Absolutely, man. And even alongside that mini core that you just described, all of the talent that is being called up, bro, is based in Europe. Like, let's not ignore that. And it's why, even despite the lack of experience that's being brought to this team, it's why I have Australia still as truly a title contender. This team has a lot to give, and I'm very interested to see what they can do this year.
My question then to you is, do they get first in this group?
I'm going to go ahead and say yes.
Same. I agree.
Because I just think overall the quality is very high. Their preparation has been excellent. And overall, just their performances at each World Cup, winning the AFC Asian Cup in 2015, I think that goes a long way. And yeah, they have a lot of talent. Let's not ignore it. I have them finishing top of the group.
I'm with you. That leaves us with Uzbekistan, number 68 in FIFA's world rankings, coached by Shreko Katanic. Bro, these guys have been on tour for the past year. If you're looking for a team with results, this is the one, with wins or draws versus Iran, Mexico, Venezuela, Bolivia, Russia, Cameroon.
Oh, yeah.
Bro, I just named teams that are in the CAF, UEFA, CONMEBOL, and CONCACAF region, bro. These dudes play in Asia. That's crazy, man. An absolute world tour. And the style of play, the way that they are so cohesive with one another, the way that they press teams specifically stands out to me very well, especially in the midfield. This team also has flair. If you look over at the wing positions, they remind me of like a Japan, but just a little bit more less fleshed out. I do think ultimately they will get second place in this group under Australia because of my belief in their defense. It's a little untrustworthy at times and they can be a little leaky, but it's always a shootout when you face off against the Uzbeks. And they'll definitely score a ton of goals in this tournament, bro. And they'll definitely be one of the funnest teams to watch. But I do think they get second and they pose the potential to do something crazy in this tournament.
Wow. No, I completely agree with pretty much everything that you just said. But if I may, dude.
Why don't you dive in a little bit more for me, yeah?
Uzbekistan are in flying form. You just listed off of the type of teams that they've played over the last 12 months, mainly winning, couple of draws. And, you know, if you hadn't seen them play, I'm sure a lot of y'all saw them play against Mexico in that crazy 3-3 draw. And we saw the full display of what an Uzbekistani, God damn it.
Yeah.
The full display of what an Uzbek offense looks like, because they went off against Mexico. But again, definitely a little leaky at the back. But my God, I mean, their only losses this year, a 1-0 loss to Iran. I think that's respectable. That makes sense. And then 3-0 to one of the best sides in the world, the USA. But my God, dude, the form that Uzbekistan are in, probably the best form of any team outside of the top six.
Yeah.
100% Uzbekistan are trying to cement themselves as being competitive with the top teams in Asia this year. And the thing is, man, I think the way that they've been playing, you kind of said it, they're kind of like a Japan, and I agree. Yeah. They're so defined in the way that they play. There's an emphasis on playing from the back, keeping ball possession, and then pressing when they lose it. And then, you know, you got some studs in this team. You really do. And all of that considered, I have Uzbekistan as my dark horse of the tournament. The dark horse for me. Outside of the top five, I have Uzbekistan with the next best chance to lift this title.
What are your thoughts then on Shomurodov being out injured? Their captain and possibly their best player.
This is what sucks. And this is what really hurts me. I don't want to change my overall analysis of this Uzbekistan side because they are more than just one player. Yeah. That's the beauty of this team. They're going to dearly miss Shomurodov. Let me make that very clear.
Please.
I'm fucking bummed that he's going to miss out because having a front three of Sergeyev, Shomurodov, and then my boy Asan Uranov on the other side, that would have been so deadly. But they have players who can fill in that role. Obviously, they're not going to have the same talent or the same ability as Shomurodov, obviously. But I still do think that Uzbekistan is more of a collective team, very similar to Japan, where the whole is much greater than the individual. And I still think they'll have a very successful campaign and will make a deep run no matter what.
Yeah, I think what's beautiful about this Uzbekistan team is I can already say with a lot of assurance, I think we're going to see them at the next World Cup. Because they're doing all the proper things to be able to be considered a team of that quality at the international stage. I think going on a deep run here, even if they get to quarters, bro, I think that's a massive achievement. But I do see them with the ability to get to even the semifinals, bro, and facing off against a South Korea or a Japan, depending on how the bracket plays out. I see them as being a team that could go on like a more dark horse type run than a Cinderella run because it's very much deserved and merited. And I want to see them be successful on this stage because they could become the next Asian power, or at least the next Asian team to watch for that plays really enjoyable football and has a really good team strategy attached to them as well.
Oh, they're so fun to watch. And it's crazy because you can make this really cool parallel when you look at the local teams in Uzbekistan. Navbahor and Nasaf have been playing elite football in the AFC Champions League, and you draw it out to the national team, and it's the same thing.
Actually, they correlates.
It correlates like crazy, and a lot of the talent in this Uzbekistan side from Nasaf and Navbahor. It's beautiful to see, but I agree, man. They're on a path to succeed, and I definitely see them at this next World Cup. 100% agree with that. And within this Asian Cup, I think they can make it to the semifinals. I think they have the talent to do so. The only thing is they'll need to avoid Japan or maybe Iran in, let's say, a quarterfinal. If they face those teams in the quarters, then I don't see them getting through. But if they can get just a slightly favorable draw on the knockout stage, I have Uzbekistan making a semifinal appearance because this team is that good, truly. They can be, at their best, a top 4 side in Asia. It's awesome to see. And when you look at some of their players outside of Shomurodov, you got some ballers, man. I remember Masharipov balled out against Mexico. He plays in Greece right now, an excellent attacking midfielder. Alongside him, you could pair Iskanderov, who plays for Nabahor. He's also a really good player on the ball who looks to go forward. And then I already mentioned it, but I do want to highlight him one more time. Austin Uronov, left winger for Nabahor. Outside of like the top 5 teams in Asia, he is one of the only players that can actually take on a defender one-on-one by himself. That isolation is so rare in teams that aren't in the top 5, bro. But Uzbekistan have it. And what's crazy is that he doesn't play in Europe. He doesn't play in the middle. He plays in Uzbekistan. But it just shows you the type of talent that Uzbekistan trying to grow and develop within their own country. And I think it's going to finally come to something here at this Asian Cup, man.
So we agree, Australia and Uzbekistan, Australia in first, Uzbekistan in second. We just disagree with Syria and India. We have them flipped.
I have them flipped.
All right, fair enough. That's Group B right there. Group C is up next with teams such as Iran, UAE, Palestine, and Hong Kong. Let's start off with this, bro. I want to ask this question just straight up. Is Hong Kong the worst team at this tournament? Looking at he's looking at his notes. He's researching. He's reviewing. He's accumulating data, and he is ready to compute. No.
The answer is no, actually.
No.
Surprisingly.
Okay. Don't reveal it yet. Just no for now.
Okay. Yeah, no for now.
When we get to that team, we'll reveal it then.
Right.
Okay, so Hong Kong is not the worst team at this tournament. I think there's an argument for it, but I'm not going to die on this hill.
There's an argument
I don't have
for it. I'm not saying they're even mid-tier. They're low. We're talking low tier, but are they the worst? No, I'm going to say no.
Ranked 150th according to FIFA rankings. Technically the lowest rated team in the tournament, right? But they don't always encapsulate very well what a team represents. So that's why I asked the question.
Gotcha.
They qualify for the AFC Asian Cup for the first time in 55 years, bro.
Yeah.
55 years.
Crazy.
In their country's history, getting third place at the inaugural Asian Cup in 1956 remains, to this day, the greatest achievement that Hong Kong has ever done. Third place, brother. They're now coached by Jorn Anderson, Norwegian leading this team.
Infamously also coached North Korea at one point.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. He's got a little bit of a track record here. Well, brother, to me, when I review this team, when I see what this team is all about, I just get the sense that Hong Kong is just happy to be here. They're just happy to be here. They're here for the vibes, here for a good time, because the quality of each of these players is just not up to the level of the rest of the competition. And I'm even talking about those low teams, man. This is going to be a team that struggles a lot in this tournament and whose biggest achievement is just getting here to be able to compete against these top teams, get that $200,000 in cash and cash it out in it and do something with it, hopefully. Yeah. My slogan for Hong Kong this tournament is "So long, Hong Kong," because I think they will be here for a very short time.
Oh, shit. The thing is, I'm with you, man. I'm 100% with you. A 55-year gap is crazy. But I think that shows you where Hong Kong is right now. They're in a little burst of success. Yeah. It's a little one, but it is success nonetheless. They just recently beat China for the first time in like 30 years. That's a big rivalry, China-Hong Kong. So I think that actually does mean something. If they could beat China, then I think they can definitely beat Palestine.
It was the first time in 30 years they got that result?
Yes.
That's barely a rivalry, bro.
Geopolitical rivalry.
Okay, yeah, that's what that is,
we gotta go to politics and geography.
Damn. That's rough, man.
No, for sure. But it shows you where they're at within the scope of the last 24 months is that they actually can play some footy. And that's why I actually have Hong Kong, I'll go ahead and say it right now, finishing in third place.
Wow. Yeah. That's an insanely hot take when you think about the quality that Hong Kong is
Absolutely. But that's what's really interesting about this team is they are highly inconsistent. And it's why I see them as one of the worst third place finishers. Let me make that very clear. But I have them beating Palestine because if they can lock in, they beat Palestine 100%. I have no doubt in my mind that they can do that. I just see Palestine as a very weak team. We'll get into that in a little bit. But I think the heights that Hong Kong can reach is a height that can beat a low-level team. And if that means that, then I have Hong Kong finishing in third place.
Fair play.
But obviously nothing. I mean, nothing more than that.
Yeah, I got them in fourth. But to me, when it comes to like the teams outside of, say, the top 10 in Asia, it becomes March Madness, man. It is the most unpredictable shit that you can see.
Dude,
we might see Hong Kong win and get third place against Palestine and pull off that result, or we might see them just completely falter at this tournament. I agree with you. It's going to be fun. It's what makes these lower level matches really fun. Seeing them face off against Palestine, seeing them face off against even like a UAE to see how they compete against a tougher team, I think is what makes it so intriguing for neutral viewers such as ourselves. But with that being said, why don't we transition over to Palestine then to talk about this country and this team who is also trying to make a name for themselves at this tournament. Palestine enters this tournament ranked 99th in FIFA's rankings and coached by Makram Daboub, Moroccan, I believe. They have a center back named Mohamed Saleh.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like Salah, but flipped. And the thing that stands out to me about this Palestinian team is the way they play against these top teams. They find a way to play them pretty close. Recently playing against Australia and losing 1-0, and then losing to Uzbekistan 1-0 in a friendly today. So I thought that was interesting that they're at least able to keep it somewhat close. But for Palestine, all I see is, I see it about the emotional factor. I think about everything that's happening right now in their country for them and how the AFC Asian Cup will work as a tool of expression for the Palestinians to both showcase their abilities on the pitch, but also to represent their people. And that's the beautiful role that football can play, is that it provides that space for people whenever they need it. I think Palestine does have a little bit of that emotional factor playing into their game to hopefully be able to lift them into a higher level than what they're at right now, because truth be told, they're not that great of a football team. But the emotional aspect might make them do something special at this tournament.
I see Palestine from a footballing perspective very similar to Syria in the sense that they can keep a lot of games pretty tight. They have that track record, but they just don't have an offense.
They don't. They
just don't score goals, and that's why I have Hong Kong finishing over them, because if Hong Kong can just find it, they will create more chances. But Palestine have a good defense. I don't want to discredit them for that. But that's all I can say. Like, that's the only good thing I can say about Palestine. The rest of it is just very low level. It is what it is. But yeah, they're here and, make the most of it. I said Hong Kong have had a little burst of success, right? Palestine have had two, but a little bit longer. This is their third ever AFC Asian Cup appearance, but it's also their third in a row.
Wow.
So they've just had this success over the last 8 years, and they're making the most of it, truly. I just think they haven't really progressed. They're kind of stagnant in the way that they've played over the last 8 years. So I just kind of see Hong Kong more of on a slight rise, Palestine more of on a, very lateral type of direction. What's really funny though, there's always a South American for Palestine. There's always that staple Chilean. This time it's Camilo Saldaña, who plays for, I believe, Unión San Felipe. If you didn't know, there's a big Palestinian contingency in Chile. Palestinos, a football club over there. So it just kind of makes sense. One always gets called up to these, and this time it's Saldaña.
Yeah. That's awesome, man.
It's kind of cool. Yeah, it's pretty cool little connection.
It's pretty cool. I think Palestine and Hong Kong kind of just represents the Reynoso Soltero debate. Palestine representing passion and emotion. Hong Kong representing technicality and just, textbook play.
Right.
I'm actually really excited now for this match specifically, because I think it probably will determine who gets third place in this group.
Yeah.
Moving on up, I think it's pretty clear here. UAE gets second place.
Yeah. UAE's like Qatar, just the level lower. They have a really good squad that's solid. They play good football in the UAE league. But, it kind of ends there. They don't really have any one player that stands out. Their collectivity as a team over the last couple of years has been, I'll just be honest, kind of disappointing. I think they peaked during the 2018 World Cup cycle when they had Omar Abdulrahman and Ali Malkout in their primes. And they haven't been able to replicate that type of success over the last 6 years. It's just kind of just gone down for the UAE. Again, they still have talent, and they have players that will compete, players that are better than Hong Kong and Palestine. So yeah, I have them finishing in second place. Will they make a deep run? For me, the answer is definitively no.
Yeah, coached by Paulo Bento, the Portuguese man.
Yeah.
And ranked pretty high in FIFA rankings when you think about Asian scope here. 64th. whereas
60?
Qatar 64, whereas Qatar is like 55. So it makes sense that they're like, you know, a similar level, but slightly lower. They've never won this tournament, but they consistently make appearances.
Yeah.
They're always here to compete, and they're in somewhat of a good moment for their nation right now. But I think the reason I have them in second over these other two teams is because I just think they offer the most reliability in terms of who do I trust more, UAE or Hong Kong or Palestine. It's UAE. They have a little bit more technicality on the ball. I think that helps them just be better than Palestine and Hong Kong. And I did see them doing enough to secure second place, but after that, I just see a major drop-off between Iran, the top team of this group, and UAE, and then UAE and Palestine and Hong Kong. They get that second place spot. They'll go to the round of 16, but I do think there'll be a round of 16 exit.
Dude, yes, 100%. Their best player, probably Caio Canedo, I'll say, naturalized Brazilian. They also have actually a really interesting young 20-year-old Asa Khalfan who plays for Al Ain. He's really good. I hope to at least see him maybe off the bench possibly. And the rest are just, you know, good footballers who play in the UAE, which is a good league. Mm-hmm. And I just basically echoes what you're saying. It's good enough to be much better than Hong Kong and Palestine, but it's not good enough to compete with Asia's best. Yeah. Not even close.
So obviously, we both agree that Iran will top this group pretty easily. They tend to not really fumble when they're in a position like this. They've done really well at World Cups, I would say, overall. And Asian Cups, I think, when it comes to the group stage time, I think they usually do show up in a really good manner. But they're interesting, bro. Iran is really interesting entering this tournament. They're the second oldest team at the Asian Cup, 29.52 years of age. But they're undefeated since the World Cup ended, bro. 9 total games, 7 wins, 2 draws. When it comes to Iran, my biggest question is, can they crack into the top 2 of Asia right now? Because I think it's clear that Japan's the best team right now, but then there's South Korea, Australia, always vying for that second place spot.
Yep.
And Iran has been given that position, but yet they haven't actually been able to get any silverware out of it, bro, because they won this tournament 3 times in the past, but the last time they won it was in 1976. And they haven't made a final since then, bro. The most they've done is get 3rd place. So if you're Irani, I can't help but think that the country must be somewhat frustrated with the inability to get results at this tournament, given how dominant they've been and how good of a team they've been for so long. I would say probably one of the most consistent Asian sides we've seen, because they've been good since the 1990s, maybe even the 2000s, bro. At least for me, that's my biggest question for them going into this tournament, and kind of putting a little pressure on them to be able to deliver, because I always find myself expecting more out of Iran, and especially the way the World Cup ended for them. I wonder if we're going to see a continuation of that disappointment, or if they'll find a way to continue the momentum of this past year and just win these games and make something notable happen at this tournament.
Yeah, not winning since the 70s is crazy, because I'm with you. Iran has been one of the most consistent Asian teams over the last decade, and they themselves consider them to be probably a top 2 Asian side. Going into the FIFA 2022 World Cup, they were the highest ranked Asian team.
That's such a good qualifying tournament, man.
Oh, dude, they were ridiculous.
Yeah, the numbers were crazy.
The numbers, yeah, it was one of the craziest qualifying campaigns I've ever seen. Like, I thought Saudi Arabia had to go, and Iran blew them out of the water, bro. But since 1970, not making a final appearance since, like, sounds like I'm talking about the New York Knicks, bro. It's kind of low-key, a little pathetic. Just a little bit.
Yeah.
But within the context of Iran, I actually have some good news.
Huh? What do you have?
I truly do think this Iran team right now is the best Irani side ever.
I was thinking about it. I considered saying that, but I didn't want to. I don't think I'm fully there.
Sure.
But I looked at the numbers. It almost calculates out, bro. I think it does. I think you got a point. Yeah.
I really do think it does. Maybe they had a hell of a team back in 1968, but in the modern era, I think this is for certain the best Irani side, and I don't think it's even close. When I look at their track record, so 2014 World Cup, they made an appearance, but that's all it was. They just kind of showed up to Brazil, and they got in their hotel, and they checked out. 3 games, didn't do anything. 2018, they showed signs of a team that could actually do something and shake things up at a World Cup. They had a really tough group, Spain, Portugal, crazy. But they made them work at the very least. They had what we just said, one of the craziest qualifying campaigns, easily winning pretty much every single game. And going into 2022, I was really excited to see Iran. But unfortunately, politics got involved.
It did.
It got involved, and it's obviously not any Irani player's fault. But dude, not singing the anthem in the first match, all of what was going on with the government in Iran, it just makes it tough for an athlete to focus on why you're there. But it sucks because you're wearing the Iranian flag. Like, you want to be there for your country, but if you don't agree with your country, it can get a little weird, right? So I don't blame them for what happened at the 2022 FIFA World Cup. It was really unfortunate. But what's crazy is that they showed signs of them being a really good team, beating Wales and then going the distance against a young, feisty USA squad.
I will say, I think it's really unfortunate they had to start off against England, bro.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's really unfortunate.
It's super unfortunate.
That just added to the difficulty of that tournament.
Exactly. And I truly think if you flip that schedule and you have an unclouded Iranian team, then I think they get out of that group, bro. Or at least, make the distance and get very, very tight with the USA, bro. And going into this tournament, all I see is nothing but players in their prime for Iran. From back to front, and please, if I could, Bayram in between the sticks. One of the best goalkeepers, I think, in Asia.
One of my favorite ones.
Yeah. Such a good such a good shot stopper. He's so big, too. And then up front, you have Khalizadeh, Kanani Zedegan. And then on the left back position, you have Mohammadi or Moharami. Either one's really good on the ball. If you want to go offensive option as a right back, you have Ramin Rezayan, who is damn near a right winger at times. Whereas the number 9 for his local club, Sepahan, that tells you where his confidence is at right now. In the midfield, you could have Torabi, Ezatolahi, Jahanbash, Goldosh if you want to. And Hosseini, yeah. And then up top, if you have Sardar Asmoon and Mehdi Taremi, man, all of them in their prime. All of them. So if you look at the journey that this Irani team has been over the last 9 to 10 years, I think this right now is their peak. They have to take advantage of all of the players that they have because they're all in their prime. This crop of players has built an insane amount of chemistry over the last 10 years. So now this is it. You use them now, you make a deep run in this tournament, and you go one last time for a crazy run for 2026?
Yeah, no, I think the storyline is there. The narrative is there for Iran to be able to maximize their potential, and the setup is there for them to be able to do something special. I agree with that sentiment because, yes, when I look at their offense specifically, they have one of the more clinical offenses in all of Asia. Yeah. They're killer, bro. Taremi and Asmoon are so good and experienced playing high-level football, and it shows when it translates over to the Asian game. But looking specifically, I looked at their match against Uzbekistan where they tied 2-2. They were up 2-0, and it was due to that clinicality where Uzbekistan fucked up and Iran just pounced on those opportunities and scored right away. I was watching it like, damn, Iran they're killers out here, bro. How the hell does Uzbekistan get back into this game? And obviously Uzbekistan is a really strong and formidable side, but to me that's the thing, is that once that second half started, Uzbekistan found a way to impose themselves on Iran, and Iran couldn't find a way out, bro, until eventually they choked out 2 goals out of Iran and they tied the match 2-2. That's the part where I get a little nervous about Iran, is when it comes to facing really good sides, really elite teams like a Japan, like a South Korea, like an Australia, because if we're trying to consider them title contenders, that's what's going to happen. I don't know if I have that trust in them to be able to take on a team that imposes themselves on them, because so far I think the opponents they face have been good, but once they face an elite side, that's where I get interested and concerned. And ultimately, that's why I wouldn't say I have them winning the tournament, but I fully agree. They're a top 3 side at this Asian Cup for sure.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Really, really good point.
Thank you, brother.
And I just want to say, I think all those points made and the narrative that I just laid out, I think basically puts the situation that I'm in. I don't know where Iran's going to end. I don't know. There's a lot of uncertainty with how they perform. They've had terrible AFC Cup performances, man. Really, really, really bad. And then when we need them to perform at World Cups, they've always fallen short. I think this is just down to Iran to figure out. But that's why I am so excited to see them play, because if they understand what they have and the players that are at their disposal, Iran's going to the final. they're going to the final. And if it's Iran, Japan, we're going to get one of the most high-quality Asian Cup finals we've ever seen. And fuck it, they might even win it. But it's up to them. It's up to nobody else. It's not going to be up to a team making mistakes. It's up to Iran shoring up that defense and then being clinical on offense. If they can do those two things, then Iran can honestly go all the way, I think, and lift the title at the end of the day. I have them definitely as a top 3 side, and because of that, I have them as genuine title contenders.
Do you think there's more pressure on Iran or on Australia to win this tournament?
I would say Iran, simply because Australia really is in a kind of interesting transitionary period. I don't even think Australia's looking to win this.
Okay.
I don't think they're even looking to win it. But Iran, almost more than half of their starting lineup will be like in their mid-30s come the next AFC Asian Cup. There's no way that they can think that they'll have the same chance in 3-4 years' time. It's now. So I think there's a lot of pressure time-wise for Iran.
Group D has Vietnam, Iraq, Japan, and Indonesia. Brother, let me ask you this question. Is the worst team in this tournament in this group?
I'm going to give you a maybe.
Okay.
There might be 2 joint worst teams.
Okay.
But I'm going to go ahead and say sure. Yeah, I'm going to say yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And I think that team would be Indonesia.
Yeah,
that team would have to be Indonesia.
So you're telling me Hong Kong is rated worse than them?
Yeah. Hong Kong's 150, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
And Indonesia's like
146. Yeah, I mean, what's the difference at that point, though?
Yeah.
Second worst in the Asian Cup. Yes, because Hong Kong is the worst team.
Interesting.
Coached by Tae Yong Shin. These are kids, bro. These are children. The youngest team at the Asian Cup with an average of 24.3 years of age.
Wow.
Younger than us, bro.
Wow.
These are kids out there. TikTokers
crazy.
playing for this team. Back-to-back losses to Libya. That's what they have to show on the resume in terms of their preparation for this tournament most recently. Back-to-back losses to Libya. Last in their AFC World Cup qualification group now.
Yeah.
I mean, this Indonesian team is tough to get excited about, bro. I'm going to be honest. I struggled to find any sort of shining light when I did my research on this team. And I think it's because when I see them play, when I see how they go upon losing matches, a lot of it is due to just really silly mistakes, bad composure at the back. And I mean like really bad composure, bro. Like the shit you do when you're drunk and you're playing FIFA and you just forget, you don't even pick up your controller. Like really dumb mistakes at the back. And obviously not enough firepower up top to even be able to ratify that. Mm-hmm. So for me, this Indonesian team is for sure going to be the 4th place team in this group, but also I do think they're worth mentioning as one of the worst teams in the tournament overall.
Yeah, no, I mean, I completely echo your sentiments here. Indonesia's the worst team at the tournament, or at least joint worst team for sure. Not a lot to get excited about. Although I will say this, there's a hell of a name drop that I'm about to give. And I could not believe it when I saw the squad lineup for Indonesia, because I was like, this guy's somehow Indonesian, but apparently he is. And that name drop is Jordi Amat.
Okay.
The streets of Swansea City will recognize and deeply remember this name.
Empty streets. Those are empty streets now, bro.
No. Now,
they used to be full.
And the thing is, when he played with Swansea, he was during the very successful time, 2013 to 2017, when Swansea City were flying high in the Prem. And Jordi Amat was a part of that team. He wasn't a starter, but he was a rotation player. Probably played like 20 games out of the 38-game season.
And now he starts for Indonesia?
How
old is he, bro?
I think he's like in his
mid-30s?
He's actually not crazy old. He might be like 34.
Okay.
Something like that. So honestly, pretty crazy. I think maybe through his grandmother or maybe his mom, he has Indonesian ancestry and just recently decided to say, fuck it, I'll show it for Indonesia. And he's here now at this tournament. He's the only player, I think, with true class. Right now, he actually plays in Malaysia. He's gone full Asian with his football. So let's see how Indonesia do. But overall, I just think they're going to have a very tough time.
Yeah. Would you agree with me in saying that when it comes to this group specifically, every single position I think is pretty well defined.
Yeah, so Vietnam in third.
Yeah, I think pretty obviously too, man. Like it's their role to have, it's their spot to give. Like that's them.
They are third place.
They are third place in this group, man. Yeah. And maybe they qualify through the round 16 because 4 out of 6 third place teams get through. But
for sure.
Vietnam ranked 94th in FIFA rankings right now, coached by Philippe Troussier, the Frenchman, and they reached the quarterfinals of this tournament in 2019. Most recently, only losing to Japan 1-0.
Yeah, crazy.
Second currently in AFC World Cup qualification, so that's not too terrible. Obviously, it's very early right now in the AFC qualification system, so a lot of football left to be played. But this team is interesting, bro. This team is really interesting because when I look at their offense, I see potential of some sort, but I also see terrible finishing, man. This team cannot finish a sentence if they wanted to. Leaky defense, but what I will give to them is that they're very unafraid. These guys go out there, bro, and you can just sense that feistiness, that will to want to win. It just must be frustrating that they don't truly have the talent to be able to get those victories. But there's just this energy to them that I think is the reason for why so many Vietnamese fans have been popping up on YouTube comments lately, because they do see some sort of positive energy being formed for this team in this country. I just don't think it's fully fleshed out in anything that is actually worth noting when it comes to a tournament such as this one, man. So I do see them getting third place, but I think there's something good to Vietnam in terms of what they're trying to do, what they're trying to represent, but I just don't think they'll be able to compete at a high level in this tournament.
Yeah, I remember in 2019, it was my first introduction to Vietnamese football through this Asian Cup, and dude, they went off. Seriously. They had a super successful tournament, and they did it through very offensive football. It was, as you said, kind of fearless, just going forward. The thing is, though, is that I think they peaked in 2019.
Had to be, man.
Yeah.
Had to be.
And since then, I was so fascinated by the performance in 2019 that I followed them for the next 3 years up till the 2022 FIFA World Cup. And they found themselves at the final qualification for the World Cup, but unfortunately, they were in a group with Japan, Australia, and Saudi Arabia. So obviously, there's no way Vietnam are going to get in the top 3. And slowly but surely, after every single game, Vietnam just got a little worse and a little worse and a little worse. And I think that steady decline has continued into 2024. Yeah. So that's where I see Vietnam right now. They are still in some sort of decline. But again, those shades of what they were in 2019 are still there, but they just can't back it up with anything. So it's for those reasons that I have Vietnam in third place, nothing more. They are not the same team that they were in 2019. So even if they do get into the knockout stage, I have them exiting in the round of 16.
Fair. I completely agree with you there. So we both agree Vietnam third, Indonesia fourth.
Yeah.
In second place, we have Iraq. Iraq getting second place here. I'll pose you this question to start. Do you consider Iraq a dark horse contender?
I thought about this for like a good 20 minutes because the logic in my mind was, okay, if I consider Uzbekistan a dark horse, and if Iraq are similarly not in the top 6, and Iraq are similarly the upper echelon of that second tier in Asian football, can I consider them to be the same as dark horses? When I look at their recent past performances, it's good, but when they play against slightly better opponents, they don't win as much as Uzbekistan. And for that, I cannot say they are a dark horse. I think they can make a run.
Yeah.
I won't be surprised if Iraq finish in second place, which they will, win a feisty round of 16 encounter, and then maybe like get really close to winning a quarterfinal. I won't be surprised by that because they have some excellent talent within the Iraqi league. Al-Quwa Al-Jawiya had a really good campaign in the AFC Champions League this year in a group with Sepahan and Al-Ittihad. They were really, really good, actually. Narrowly missed out. And Iraq themselves play very good, expansive, progressive football. But I just don't think they get the same results as Uzbekistan. They don't. And yeah, I think that's why I can't say they're dark horses.
Yeah, I have a very similar sentence in my notes that says, not a title contender, but dark horse to make it deep. Right? Not a dark horse to win the title, but one that could make could get a quarterfinal victory and find us on the semifinal, or at the very least be a very tough opponent for those elite sides in this Asian Cup tournament. Ranked number 63 in FIFA rankings, currently coached by Jesus Casas, the Spaniard. Nearly qualified to the World Cup. I remember that. They nearly qualified to the 4th round playoff of the AFC region and heading into 2022, but they lost out by about like 3 points now. They're top of their qualifying group right now, and they have some notable players like Hamadi and Hussein up top. In the midfield, Bayesh, Rashid, Alamari in their midfield. And then the thing that stood out to me when I looked at their record was that, yes, they do find a way to, I guess, compete with really solid teams.
Yeah.
And on their day, they can possibly pull off a really exceptional result. They lost 1-0 to South Korea just yesterday in a friendly preparation for this tournament. They killed Indonesia recently. They tied Qatar. And they've experimented against Russia and Colombia, played close games, but ultimately they lost.
That's the thing, though.
Yeah.
That's my whole point, is that when they needed a win in that final World Cup qualification cycle, they couldn't get it. And that's my whole point with Iraq. They're right there.
I wonder then, do you see them, are they progressing upwards though, or are they just plateauing right now? Are they just the same team? Because we're talking about all these other teams, as you know, either they're on a downfall or they're on a rise. Where's Iraq right now?
Okay. I think I'll make a conclusion after this tournament. I don't know if I know enough about them. All I can say is right now, they do not win against the teams that they need to be winning against. And I'm going to say that trend continues. They have a chance to prove me wrong.
And that sets up Group D to be topped by the one and only Japan. And I'll start off by just giving you a take.
Okay.
A Japanese-based take, and just see how you react. Japan has the potential to become the greatest team Asia has ever produced. This Japanese side has that potential, becoming the greatest team that Asia has ever produced.
Amen.
When it came to doing my research, I wanted to leave Japan for the very last team to research, because I wanted to get a sense of how big truly is that gap, right? I was looking at all these other teams. I was looking at Iran, South Korea. I was looking at Iraq, whoever it might be. And I just left Japan until the very end to just get a sense of where do they lie in comparison to the rest of their Asian counterparts. Bro, that gap is big, bro. It is massive. They're first right now in their World Cup group. 10 goals in 2 games. 5 goals in each of the last 3 matches. They've had friendlies in the past year against Uruguay, Colombia, Peru, Germany, Turkey, Canada, Tunisia. And they didn't lose a single one of those.
Nope.
They're one of the hottest and most informed teams in the world. They're the most successful team in this tournament with 4 titles to their name. Last time they won it was in 2011. They have the greatest accumulation of talent that any Asian squad can offer, with guys like Kubo, Mitoma, Tomiyasu, Ito, Don, Endo, Sugawara, Minamino, Morita, Nakamura, Maeda, Asano.
Yeah.
And the list goes on, bro. I believe this Japanese team will get first place because of their ability to press and choke an opponent out, just like a snake that's trying to kill its prey would do. Their technical ability on the ball, paired with their insane momentum and potential that all these Japanese players currently have. To me, Japan is the team to beat at this tournament. They're the title favorites, and they have the potential, once again, to become and go on a rise so strong and so big that makes them the best Asian side we've ever seen heading into 2026.
Wow, man. Good God.
You got him in first, right?
Oh my God. Seriously, if you just kind of like take out the names of everything, it kind of sounded like you were describing like 2010 Spain or like 2014 Germany.
Imagine they reached that height, bro.
Yeah.
That height would be...
That's crazy. Because that, like, seriously, we'll go back and listen to this. That was an insane intro. The thing is, I agree with every single word that you just said. Japan are my title favorites. I have a lot of title contenders in this year's Asian Cup, but I have Japan ultimately lifting this title. But it's for all the reasons that you said, man. The amount of talent that they have in every single position, the way that they approach the game, I think it's leaps and bounds above any other team in this tournament. And there's some good teams, Iran, South Korea, and South Korea we're talking about in a little bit. But I think Japan just outdoes them in almost every category, whether it's first touch, off the dribble, off the pass, unity, chemistry within the midfield, combining with their wingers, combining with their number 9. I think Japan does it the best in every single category. When I compare them against any other Asian team in this tournament, I don't think they have a weakness in comparison. But the way that Japan have gotten here to this moment, to the descriptions that we've just given them, completely fascinates me, bro. Fascinates me. It all started in 2018 when Moriyasu took over this national team, and it has been an insane 6-year rise. And it's a rise that I don't know if it has stopped yet. And it's what you're talking about, because we might see the best Asian team ever come 2026. But it just really, really boggles my mind, because the appearances that Japan had in 2014 and 2018 in those World Cups, it was very good appearances. 2014 not so much, but 2018 was. But it was appearances that relied on a couple of stars and then role players to support them. And we talked about Japan in 22 as being completely the opposite of that. One that didn't rely on any singular player, but rather relied on everybody. All 11 players to be in form and in tune with one another. The chemistry and the way that they're in sync with another is, as you said, one of the best national teams in the world. And that's where they're at right now, man. A team that doesn't rely on any singular player, but just has ridiculous chemistry. And that's the thing. If one player's out, you put in the next Japanese player and he comes in and he doesn't miss a beat. That's what's crazy. If Mitoma is ultimately injured for this tournament, I don't think it's gonna matter, man, because they don't rely on a star player to dictate how they play. They play the same way no matter who is starting, and that's what's ridiculous about this team. I can't say that about 95% of national teams right now.
Oh yeah,
not just in Asia but around the globe. So all of that considered, I see Japan as unstoppable.
Oh my god!
Oh my god! And actually, can I? I want to keep going a little here.
Yeah, go ahead. I thought that ended kind of short. You got to keep going.
Their last 3 games, all 5-0. Isn't that nuts?
That's nuts, man.
For national team, but like that's like Madrid. That's like club type of form.
Yeah.
But we're talking about national team, and you might be like, okay, well, it's against Thailand, Syria, Myanmar. Okay, well, Soltero, those are against weak teams. Well, okay, well. Let me give you something a little juicier. Germany 4-1, Turkey 4-2. They're going off, man. And against these weaker teams, Peru 4-1, El Salvador 6-0, bro. It's actually disgusting. It's that like they're scoring goals at will and nobody can stop them. The only one, Uruguay 1-1. That's respectable. Yeah. Uruguay on a very good rise right now, and then their only loss, Colombia 2-1. That's respectable in my opinion. But it's ridiculous the amount of goals that they are producing, the rate at which they are doing so, and everybody's scoring, bro. Everybody's getting involved. Japan's unstoppable.
I completely agree. It's insane. But in the search for a flaw, if there's any flaws in this team, I want you to, in a way, kind of defend Japan here, because I'm questionable about this certain aspect. World Cup. Insane result against Germany. They fucking beat them, bro. That was insane. Yeah. That Costa Rica game.
I know.
But does that... Is there an angle here where Japan can sometimes get a little too comfortable? Or can just get too cocky? Because they're facing one of the worst teams in the tournament and found themselves struggling against them and ultimately losing, bro. After incredible results against Spain and Germany, man. That's the only angle I could find in terms of any sort of weakness with the Japanese side. If anything, I just need help translating. What does that result mean in the grand scheme of things? Is it meaningless ultimately, or is there something there to be worth noting?
Yeah, so the way I take that is I think that 2022 Japanese team was in the early stages of their success. The way that they've played hasn't been fully realized since it was really early, bro. Like since 2021 is when they started to play this way. And so if you think about it like that, come the World Cup, they were only like a year and a half into playing their very specific style, a style in which really relies on everyone to have a very defined role. So I just think it was early. if I take that same Japanese team now and pit them against Costa Rica in that exact same moment, I only expect them to win. I remember going into that World Cup, I was very high on Japan, but I was still very uncertain because, again, they were very early in how they were playing. But that's why I think this tournament is so important for Japan, because they can basically nullify that type of performance. They can prove to you and to me and to everybody who has that doubt that this team is continually evolving and only getting better. Or they prove that it actually is a problem. Yeah. Right? It's either or. Maybe they actually do have a problem of game management, or they've actually evolved past that and they're now better than they were a year ago. I'm going to trend towards the idea that they are better and that they're actually getting even better. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah. Because I just think, man, because everyone's talking about Japan the same way I think as we are. A lot of people are catching on.
And they should.
Is there reality where they end up disappointing and don't even make it to the final, or they lose in the final? And like, what does that mean ultimately in this narrative we're building for Japan? I think ultimately it would be a little disappointing to not see them lift the trophy.
It would be. I'd say for me it's semifinal or nothing. They have to make the semis. If they don't, I'm calling it a complete failure. If they make the semifinals and they play against South Korea or Iran and lose, it'll depend on how they lose. If they lose in a crazy like shootout where it's just 2-2, Iran get like a crazy goal win 3-2, then I just chalk that up to knockout football, baby.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about.
Catching your drift.
Yeah, and I don't mind that. I wouldn't mind that. So yeah, that's where I stand for Japan right now as far as expectation.
Let's keep going, bro. Let's keep this thing going. Group E is up next, which has Bahrain, Malaysia, Jordan, and South Korea. Let me start off with this. There's a very vocal community here located in this group that I think I've been seeing everywhere online. You go to YouTube comments, it's this specific group of people that are nonstop praising their team and hoping that people can give them the credit that they feel they deserve because of the somewhat rise that they've been on. And that group is the Malaysians. The Malaysians are passionate about their country's football team this year. And it's got me really interested because it made me put a little extra ounce of research into them because I see how much they care for their team. Malaysia, a team that in 2018 was ranked 178. Super low.
Wow.
But fast forward to today is ranked 130th.
Good.
So a good 40-50 spot rise there. Coached by Pang Gong Kim, the South Korean. Once again, people that don't come from their country coaching other teams. It's a trend here in Asia, but they're currently first in their World Cup qualifying group with impressive wins over Kyrgyzstan and Chinese Taipei. Malaysia's a lot of people's favorites for surprise team of the tournament and the team that will shock the world in a sense, if you will. The question is, do you buy in? Do you buy into what people ultimately think this Malaysian team will pan out to be? Do you give them that shot of maybe getting second or maybe even third and qualifying through a third place slot? Ultimately, are you buying into this Malaysian hype or are you completely out on it?
I do buy into it. I do. You look at their form and it's actually fantastic. They have a lot of wins this last 12 months, but there's a caveat to it, bro. And it's against weak opponents, like really weak. I'm talking the lowest of the low in Asia. But it's good that Malaysia are able to actually get those type of results, because if we're talking about a team that's on the rise, then it makes sense that they're getting these results. But a little bit more bad news, I actually think they're in a tough group. We'll look at it in a bit, but obviously South Korea is elite. Jordan and Bahrain are probably one of the better mid-tier Asian teams. So if you want to say that Malaysia get out of this group, they're going to have to do a lot of work. And I mean a lot. Yeah.
We have to assume that Jordan or Bahrain end up in fourth, either one of them. And that's pretty crazy to say.
That's crazy. I like Malaysia. I do. One of the names that stood out for me, Dion Kools. He had a good 4-year stint at Club Brugge. Got some, European action too along the way. Now, actually, I think plays in Asia. So he'll definitely add to this experience that Malaysia desperately need. And the thing is, look, Vietnam did it in 2019. Oman did it to an extent too in 2019. There's definitely room for a team like Malaysia who's on the rise to make a surprise entrance into the knockout stage and do something crazy. That's why I do buy into it for Malaysia. I'm going to go back to it. I think they're in a really tough group.
Yeah. So, okay, you don't want to reveal it yet.
Fourth.
Damn.
Yeah. It sucks. Yeah. Look, man, if they were in Group F, if they're in Group D, they're in Group C, man. Like,
you're not gonna find it, bro.
They'd get through, but truly, I think they're actually in one of the tougher battles for second place.
It's crazy.
They're
looking at the FIFA rankings, right? I mentioned that Malaysia was 130. Jordan and Bahrain. Jordan 87, Bahrain 86. Like, bro, that's so tough. And to assume that either one of them just will finish in last, I don't see enough against those two teams to give Malaysia the optimism that so many of their fans have. So unfortunately, I think I do agree with you, bro. I think I do, but I don't think they'll be a bad fourth place team.
No, that's the thing. That's what I'm trying to get at. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, then with that being said, then who do you have finishing in third?
Yeah.
Because it's a battle between Jordan and Bahrain.
Yeah, and that's going to be a crazy game too because they play each other in the last match day.
Oh, okay.
So that's going to be basically a final, in my opinion, for either team, Jordan or Bahrain. If we say who gets third, I'm going to go Bahrain here. I'm going to go Bahrain. The really interesting team, head coached by Juan Antonio Pizzi, who's won a Copa America with Chile. Crazy that he has found himself here with this Middle Eastern team. But the thing is, Bahrain had a really good 2019. I remember watching them, and I had zero expectations. I'd never seen them play before, but they really exceeded the low-level expectations that I had for them. They play a really good game. They're very similar to the UAE in the sense that they're very solid, very organized. And there was one player that really stood out for me, Ali Madan, who actually plays in the UAE. Low-key, he's a baller. He's a straight-up baller. I talked about how there's not really that many players who can take people one-on-one. Ali Madan is one of those rare players outside of the top 5 that can take a defender one-on-one. He's got a little bit of nastiness to the way that he touches the ball. Very excited to see him in his prime now with Bahrain. The reason why I have Bahrain finishing third, though, is I just don't think they have any supporting cast alongside Ali Madan. It offensively gets a little hairy for them. So I think defensively they'll be fine, but outside of Ali Madan, I just don't think they have it to finish second.
Yeah, Pizzi coaching is crazy to me. That's what gets me. I can't believe he's here doing this for Bahrain. But yeah, when it comes to teams that I potentially considered being in fourth while Malaysia moved on up, it was Bahrain that I had listed as potentially that team to disappoint in this tournament. And it's because I don't see them having the same sort of chemistry or momentum that Malaysia has. They do have better overall talent and quality, and they do have a standout player in Ali Madan. I just think it's really close. I think it's really close between them and Jordan.
Oh, yeah.
But I actually did have Jordan finishing in second, which means Bahrain is third. So I actually agree with you completely. I have Bahrain in third place for this group, and Jordan getting second place because they're in a very similar situation. Also having a standout player in Musa Altamari, 3 goals and an assist and 16 matches in League One, man, for Montpellier. That's an insane resume and club to pertain to if you're one of the outside teams, one of the outside elite teams in Asia. That's really, really good. And it's a similar situation. There's not much else outside of him, but a player of that quality can do numbers in a tournament such as this one.
Absolutely. And he actually featured in 2019. He was 22 or 23 years of age. And to see his career, I think he played in Belgium, and now in his first year in France, he is Montpellier's starting winger. And he moves with the ball real easy, man. Has electric pace. And I think definitely Jordan's starting offensive piece for sure. Alongside Altamari, I just think Jordan have a little bit better supporting cast in comparison to Bahrain. But not by much. I think the margin definitely is small. But I think the way that Jordan plays just slightly more offensive than Bahrain. And it's for that reason that I have Jordan just edging Bahrain for that second place finish.
Yeah, I think the reason I have them edging Bahrain out and getting past the group stage is because of their history, bro. Jordan is the Mexico of Asian Cups, dude. Only been knocked out of the group stages in the AFC Asian Cup once.
Wow.
Once, bro. To them, the group stages, it's just something to toy around with, bro. This is history. This is prestige, man. What they do after that, well, that's up to them to decide. But as a team that historically has gotten through, I found their record to be very impressive in that sense. And I think that means a lot in these type of tournaments. And given the fact that they do have the quality to compete against Bahrain and to be much better than Malaysia, I think Jordan will get second place here. Interested to see if they can kind of pick up any sort of momentum that puts them into a higher tier to potentially do something special. But for now, I just think they're a team that, goes out in the round of 16 and just is thankful to have gotten out of this group.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I do see Jordan as getting out definitively in that second place spot, but I think it ends in the round of 16. I just don't think they have enough in the midfield to really define themselves as a really good team that can make a deep run. They're missing a lot of pieces. But within the group, I think they are second best, which is great for Jordan. That's a crazy stat, though, that they always pretty much get out of the group stage. Yeah. It makes sense, though. They have a history of really good footballers. And when they're locked in, they can play some really fun offensive football. What's really interesting about Jordan, though, is that they're kind of like the opposite of Malaysia, which makes this group so interesting to try to dictate. They're in poor form. They're in really poor form, actually. But it's against good opponents. So it's like, do you expect Jordan to win against a tougher team? Probably not. Whereas Malaysia, they're beating opponents that are weaker than them. It gets really interesting. Do you value form or do you value the opponent you're facing? That's the ultimate question. And we'll be able to get that answered here to see if Malaysia can even finish above fourth.
Yes. And finishing in first place, finally, we have South Korea, a team that I think almost parallels Iran when you look at their history and what they're trying to achieve. Two-time winners, haven't won it since 1960.
Yeah.
So a big gap there. Currently coached by none other than ex-USA coach Jurgen Klinsmann.
Crazy.
Undefeated in their last 8 games. But brother, do they have some fucking names. And let me just take a moment to... Can I get a spotlight on me, please? Let me get to the lighting shift here. Heung-min Son. When you think about guys like what Sadio Mane meant to Senegal in that AFCON winning run, what Lionel Messi meant to Argentina in his World Cup run, the exact same thing can be applied to Heung-min Son and this current South Korean team. There's an argument, which I actually think he comfortably wins, in that he is the best player at this tournament. A world-class player that has been performing at the highest of levels for like 8 years now. God knows how long with this Tottenham side, consistently scoring over 20 goals in the Prem, or at least over 15, and consistently being one of the best wingers that the game of football has to offer at the biggest stage.
Can I take it one step further there? I was thinking about this. Is Heung-min Son the best Asian to ever kick a ball? The answer might be yes, man. Like, when you look at his resume with Bayer Leverkusen, and then obviously the legacy that he's built at Tottenham, his success with Korea, it hasn't been insane, but when you look at the moments, Heung-min Son might be the best Asian player I've ever seen. And
for us, yes.
For us,
I'm thinking,
but maybe
someone we're missing, bro?
I don't think so.
I would love the comments to let us know if there's somebody else, but I think if it's not anyone that we've never seen, like if it was someone before our lifetime, then sure, maybe I don't know him, but from the moment I was born until now, Heung-min Son has been the best Asian player of all time. For sure. I completely agree. And what's dope about this year's South Korean team is that I think we finally are seeing the best South Korean team to support Heung-min Son.
Yeah.
Because you have a world-class player in Heung-min Son, but then you also have a damn near close to world-class level player in Kim Min-jae defending for them as well.
Yeah.
They have some names, bro. They have some names that I think puts them immediately into the title contender conversation. Being led by Jurgen Klinsmann, let's see what he can do with this team. And with so many guys, Hee Chan Hwang, Kang-in Lee, Im Byung Hwang, Jae Sung Lee. Any other ones you want to mention?
Did you say Hwang Hee-chan?
Yes, Wolves? I did.
Jong Woo-young.
Okay.
Jong Woo-young plays for Stuttgart.
Yes.
Plays for Stuttgart. And then, of course, Lee Kang-in. Did you already say that
Yes,
too?
I did. Okay, we got the main ones. They have all the tools to be elite in Asia, bro. They have all the tools. Straight ballers on this team. the best South Korean team built around Heung-min Son.
Yeah.
Time to deliver.
God damn it. I can't add anything more to that because that is my exact take. For a long time, Heung-min Son has been the best Korean player, no doubt, and they've been very competitive because of that. But they've never had the supporting cast around him. Enough to be competitive, enough to make World Cups, sure. The K-League is one of the best leagues in Asia, so it makes sense that they get there. But I've never considered Korea to be threatening. I've never considered them to be able to shift teams at a World Cup table. But I think finally now, the team that is around Heung-min Son, man, I think they finally can say that they are a team that can go for the title here, and then beyond that, actually build a team that can do something crazy at 2026. And that's what makes me really excited about the South Korean side is exactly that. The supporting cast now no longer is a supporting cast. In each position, you have a player that has their own narrative at club level in Europe, just like Heung-min Son did 10 years ago. And that, I think, is so defining of this Korean side. And we saw a glimpse of that last year.
Yeah.
I had Korea doing pretty much next to nothing at last year's World Cup. But let's be honest, they had some of the more entertaining games at the World Cup last year. But why? It was because of the amount of offense that they focused on in every single game. Now, the thing is that they were very leaky at the back because of that. But the thing is, they showed to me, and I think they showed to the world, that they have players that can pretty much break any defense. Any defense. And that's going to go a long way here. That's the one thing they need to fix. If they can find the balance between their offensive line scoring as many goals as they do and not being leaky at the back, then Korea might be the next best team besides Japan.
Yeah.
And that's scary because you get a Japan-Korea semi or final, and I don't know if I could tell you who wins. I really don't know. That's top quality football right there. And that's so exciting to think about. But that's what Korea need to figure out. Can they find the balance? Can they find that transition between defense and offense? If the answer is yes, then Korea can do something crazy at this Asian Cup.
Yeah, I think South Korea represents kind of that discussion a lot of people are having of Asian football being on the rise. Obviously, Japan is like the poster boy for that.
Yeah.
But the fact that South Korea has improved upon themselves, Iran too, and Australia always being so strong, it represents just where this sport is heading over in Asia. And I'm so happy about that because, yes, South Korea for so long has been a team that you kind of walk over in the World Cup stage. I mean, Mexico did it to them in 2018, and it took a disastrous Germany team to lose against South Korea. Massive result for them, but that's when that South Korean-Mexican unity happened, was because South Korea defeated Germany. This last World Cup, I think, was very indicative of where they're trying to go. The amount of crosses, bro, that they sent in was insane. They had such an incredible offensive approach that I loved. And I'll never forget Heung-min Son run against, I think, Portugal in the very last minute. Went on an insane dribbling run, where he then found Hee Hwan Chang at the very end of it, scored a goal to tie the match or win it. I can't remember. But it was an insane moment. Heung-min Son on his knees crying after the final whistle because they had qualified through. They ultimately ended up losing to Brazil 4-1, but what this team achieved at this past World Cup, I think, is just so indicative of where they're trying to go, what they represent in Asia, and how they're finally, I think, seriously, at least to me, being considered a title contender for the AFC Asian Cup.
And I'm going to get a little personal here. The Jurgen Klinsmann connection is really interesting for me. Because all I can think about when it comes to Jurgen is the way he ended his tenure with United States. You know, it was one of just complete failure, essentially, starting with the decision to not bring Landon Donovan to the 2014 World Cup in Brazil. Arguably one of the most egotistical failures in international history. The emphasis was, let's bring European players, let's bring European talent, right? And it ultimately ended with him getting fired in the 2018 cycle, and Bruce Arena came up, tried to pick up the pieces, and it didn't work. And so it's just, personally, it is weird to see Klinsmann now the head of another national team coach. It's just kind of weird. By the way, this has nothing to do with Korea. I don't want to make that very clear.
Dad that walked out on you, and now he's with another family.
Yeah.
And you wonder if he's a good father now.
And dude, exactly.
Yeah.
The thing is, I'm interested to see, maybe he has a better connection with the Koreans.
Dang.
You know what I'm talking about?
Dang, yeah.
Like, maybe he does, and I'm okay with that. I'm just curious. I will say the Korean team, I think, is a little bit easier to pick out than the USA team because I think the quality just kind of speaks for itself. The European talent is very defined, whereas the USA MLS versus Europe talent kind of meshes a little bit more. All I hope is that Klinsmann doesn't detract from Korea's offense. That's it. If he lets them play football in the offensive end, then I think Klinsmann will have done a great job with his Korean side. And that's where I'll end the personal connection between me and Korea.
So we have South Korea in first place, Jordan in second, Bahrain in third, and Malaysia in fourth. Yeah. And finally, the last group, Group F. If any of you guys have made it this far, God bless you. Let's finish off this group. We have
a fun ride.
Kyrgyzstan, we have Thailand, we have Oman, and Saudi Arabia. I actually want to start specifically with Kyrgyzstan first. Please. And here's why, because throughout my entire research of this tournament, I was looking for matches played amongst teams that share the same group where they had played each other before, at least within like the last year.
Oh, okay.
And it's tough to kind of find that, bro.
Yeah.
Like there's so many teams in Asia that it's tough to find these matchups that are scheduled to happen in the Asian Cup actually happening prior. But I finally found one, bro. I finally found one in this group specifically that happened recently with Kyrgyzstan facing off against Oman in the AFC World Cup qualification.
Are they in the same group?
Yeah, same group.
Okay.
Right? Recently happened. Kyrgyzstan hosted Oman, and they won 1-0 at home. And what was truly a crazy atmosphere in Kyrgyzstan. But after watching the highlights, I think it was pretty clear that Oman should have tied the game 1-1. Kyrgyzstan got a little lucky to pull off that result and get all 3 points. But the reason I highlight that matchup is because I believe that matchup will decide who gets second and third place in this group. When you're talking about Oman and Kyrgyzstan, I don't see Thailand getting that. I don't see Thailand falling into that position. We'll talk about that in a second. I do think those two spots are up for grabs between those two teams. And my question is, under the bright lights, with Stefan Darkovic coaching these guys, can Kyrgyzstan step up in a way that's more impressive than Oman? I think ultimately no. I think that's why when it comes to my analysis of Kyrgyzstan, I have them finishing in third place in this group. Do you agree with that?
I actually have them finishing last. I have them fourth. Kyrgyzstan's so interesting to me because I saw them in 2019, and I'm not even lying. They were one of my favorite teams in 2019. They went off, bro. They lost 3-2 against the UAE in the round of 16 in extra time. They were so close to a quarterfinal appearance. But it wasn't even the results that made me love Kyrgyzstan. It was the way that they approached the game. It was pure offense. Pure offense. And I think it shows 3-2. They didn't really focus on the defensive end, but it made for such entertaining matches. The problem is that kind of similar to like Vietnam, if you will, Kyrgyzstan, I think, peaked in 2019. They haven't been able to find that exact same form. And since then, their form has been atrocious, bro. I'm going to be completely honest. Other than maybe that 1-0 win against Oman, I don't think they've done much. And I think the recent results that they're getting, the way that they're performing, they just got a new coach. I think Kyrgyzstan's going to have a tough tournament here. So yeah, that's why I have them finishing in fourth place. What's interesting though is that they in 2019 they had these two German-based players, Victor Meyer and Vitali Lux. They both played like in the third or fourth division of Germany. It was crazy. Somehow they had Kyrgyz connection, but dude, they went off. They went absolutely off. But it's gone now. Like they don't have those players anymore, and I think it really shows. Like offensively, Kyrgyzstan is not the same, and I think that inability offensively is why I have them finishing fourth.
Fair enough. So then that makes me interested to know why you have Thailand finishing above them. Let me hear the case for Thailand then.
The only case I have for Thailand is, okay, one, let me establish the ground here. Thailand's just as bad as Kyrgyzstan. They're just as bad, bro.
Okay.
They're really bad form, man. Like terrible
I'm telling you, bro, it's March Madness with these lower level teams, bro. It's anybody.
It's the perfect way to describe it, because if Kyrgyzstan end up above Thailand, I won't be surprised. But I have Thailand finishing above Kyrgyzstan for one reason and one reason only. And it's that I think at club level, they've done a little bit more. Buriram United had a decent Champions League campaign, and Bangkok United, well, they literally got into the knockout stages of the Champions League. The way that they play, I think, is good off the ball. They're decent passers. I think where Thailand really struggle right now, though, is, and this will sound very familiar, it's offensively.
Oh, yeah.
They just don't really have an offense. They don't have players that can take anybody on one-on-one, and they're not great when they need to connect in the final third. The thing is, I think they're better than Kyrgyzstan. I think Kyrgyzstan's in the worst form in the last 5 years. Thailand is too, though. But I think Thailand just plays slightly better football, but I mean slightly. And it's that slight margin why I have them in third.
Yeah, I think the reason, because Thailand has also been very vocal online in these online communities, wanting people to buy into them. The reason I don't buy into them is because when you're a team of this quality, you need a good system in place to be able to thrive, to be able to maximize your potential. And I'm thrown off by the fact that their newest hiring, their new coach, Masatada Ishii, has only had one game, bro, to input his tactics. That sounds like a nightmare for a team that could lose to FC Dallas's U15. They need proper coaching. They need a guy that can motivate them, that can do well for them. Maybe on the emotional level, Ishii can find a way to connect with these guys and just continue playing the way that they have. But in terms of inputting his tactics, his philosophy, there's been no room to do that. And I question why they fired their prior head coach so close to this tournament. I think something crazy must have happened there. But overall, I think it's a bad move that will result in them getting fourth place in this group. They have a defense that cannot be trusted as well. Obviously, Japan is the best team in this tournament. They played against them. Japan put 5 past them. Georgia put 8 past these guys.
Oh, yeah.
And I just think every team they face in this group will give them tons of trouble because I agree they don't have the offense to offset what they're going to have coming their way in the next month, bro. It's really tough for them. I just think from the coaching aspect, that's ultimately what that's ultimately what gives me the ick about this team that I can't buy into.
It sucks because in 2019, Thailand had a great performance. They went into the round of 16, put up a valiant performance. They got out in that round. But the fact that they're able to get to that stage, I was like, oh shit, okay, Thailand's got something about them. So much so that I tried to follow Thailand for the next 2 years, but they peaked in 2019, bro. They really did. And similar to Kyrgyzstan, they've just been down since. But I think Thai football locally is a little bit better than Kyrgyz, so I'll put them third.
Second place, we got Oman.
Oh,
man. Not again. Number 74 in FIFA rankings, coached by Branko Ivankovic, the Croatian. Mm-hmm. A lot of Croatians over here leading these teams.
And he's been coaching for the last 4 or 5 years, too.
Oh, damn.
Okay, so he's been in it for tenure. He's got tenure.
Damn. 2 very solid friendly results leading into this tournament with victories over China and the UAE. And the results for the last year actually look pretty promising from what I've seen in terms of their resume.
Oh, yeah.
I have them in second place because of their attacking weapons, their technical ability being higher than what Kyrgyzstan and Thailand have to offer, and the momentum heading into the tournament, because I do think that just winning games going into a tournament this big does matter for teams of this caliber. So to just continue that and get second place, I think it's very feasible for them given the weaker teams in this group.
I like Oman. I've liked Oman for a long time. In 2019, they really proved to me and to the world that they have kind of punched above their weight. Because for the longest time, Oman, wasn't a team to be worried about. But in 2019, they got past the group stage, went into the round of 16, and I'll be honest, they got completely screwed over by the most crooked referee in CONCACAF, Cesar Ramos.
Dirty football.
Completely screwed over. That was a cheap penalty against Iran, and it kind of dictated the rest of the result. But beyond that, they were able to go on and improve their performances. They got to the last stage of World Cup qualifying. They were in the same group as Vietnam. Very tough group with Australia, Saudi Arabia, and Japan. But Oman have played really good football. At club level, the team Al Seeb won the AFC Cup last year. The first Omani team to ever win a continental title in history. And it's the equivalent of winning the Europa League, if you will. So that's a huge landmark for Omani football. And mind you, almost all of the players for Oman play in Oman. That's crazy. So they completely rely on themselves to be successful, but it's worked. Very similar to Uzbekistan, very similar to Tajikistan. Oman have done it in the Middle East to rely on themselves to be very good, and it's worked. this Oman team gets pretty good results. I say the only thing on the reason why I don't think they'll make a deep run is they do just like a little bit of, let's say, pizzazz going forward. You know, they rely on one another, but the level is low. But it's good enough to beat, for example, Kyrgyzstan and Thailand. It's definitely good enough. But is it good enough to crack into the quarterfinals? Probably not. Either way, though, I do have them finishing second in this group.
And the last group left to analyze in this entire tournament is none other than Saudi Arabia, the team that won our hearts at the 2022 World Cup with an insane victory over the world champions Argentina, 2-1. What a crazy game. Number 56 in FIFA rankings going into this tournament. Now coached by Roberto Mancini.
Crazy.
Ridiculous. Coming off of Hervé Renard resigning and leaving this team, Roberto Mancini comes in, a coach that has won the biggest of titles with Italy, specifically the Euros, and they still have so much talent here to play with guys such as Mohamed Kano, Al Dawsari, Abdul Hamid, Al Buraiken, Al Sheri. This Saudi Arabian team has always had so much talent, and I think they're just going to continue utilizing that to gain success in these tournaments. They've tested themselves with Venezuela, Bolivia, Costa Rica, South Korea, and Mali friendlies, all of which they lost. Yeah. But they've tested themselves.
Sure.
They have the best quality in this group, I think, by far, and they will top it, in my opinion. But the question for Saudi Arabia is, can they actually be considered contenders? And the answer to that question is no. It's a resounding no. Because to me, Saudi Arabia, I see them as a fringe team. I see them as like a 5th or 6th ranked team in the AFC region. To be a contender, you got to be in the top 4, maybe even the top 2 or 3. And I just don't see them being able to do that just yet. I think if anything, they want to have a good showing here in preparation for what will be their own AFC Asian Cup hosted in their own country in 2027. By then, maybe even more studs will develop for the Saudi Arabian team and they'll have more momentum and more to go off of. But for now, I see them topping this group, but I don't see them contending for the title.
So I see this team very similar to Iran in the sense that I think the crop of players that they have right now is their golden generation at their peak. When you look at a lot of their best players, they're in their mid to late 20s. So if you're talking about the next Asian Cup, they'll be past 30 years old. And that kind of scares me. Because I think Saudi Arabia, like Iran, have to capitalize on the prime talent that they have right now. And you already said it, you don't see them as title contenders. And that... It worries me. It kind of saddens me. I don't like hearing that, but I agree. It's just a little frustrating because when you look at Saudi Arabia, and so this crop of players have played together for the last 10 years. Almost all of them. They had a weird 2018, one where they were very jittery, very nervous, but they kind of made it up in 2022. The way that they qualified for the campaign and World Cup qualifying was phenomenal. And they had... the craziest opener with that win against Argentina 2-1. And a phenomenal performance led by Hervé Renard as coach. But here's the scary thought. Was that game against Argentina Saudi Arabia's peak?
Yeah, man, it really could have been.
It might be.
I don't know if I'm willing to fully commit to the idea that this
they haven't won a game this year.
This is the end, because I think there's so much more to learn from Saudi Arabia and what comes of the game there specifically versus like Iran, because of what's happening at the foundational level with all the money they're putting into the clubs, all the money they're willing to spend, the way they're willing to develop talent. I think there's more to find out about Saudi Arabia in the next 10 years than Iran. So I think there's more pressure for Iran to deliver. I don't get so saddened by the idea that maybe Saudi Arabia fails at this tournament, because I think this next crop might actually be really good for them that comes 5-10 years from now.
I agree. The pressure's on Iran this tournament. Way more so than it is on Saudi Arabia. But the reason why I'm just worried about Saudi Arabia, because I'm worried, will the next crop of players actually come? I mean, I'm talking about players like Al Faraj, Mohamed Kano, Al Sharani, who's not even here anymore, Al Dawsari, who's 31. This is it.
Amazing.
This is it for Al Dawsari, the best Saudi Arabian footballer over the last 10 years. He will not be the same in 2027. He will not have the pace, not have the physicality. I think he'll be here, but he'll be 35.
Yeah.
And so that's a completely different type of type of team you have. But you can say that about a lot of these players. Mohamed Khan too, he's like in his late 20s. He's not going to be the same come 2027. So I get worried when I think about Saudi Arabia because you have to trust that the next crop of players is just as good. I don't know if that answer is yes. And here's the thing. Unlike Australia, they're not trying them. This team is largely the exact same. It's pure experience. It's pure players in the prime. There's almost no young player getting called up. It's all the same guys, which is a good thing as far as like going for it, trying to win the tournament. But when you look at the bigger picture, I get worried because if they did peak in that game against Argentina, then Saudi Arabia is kind of done for. When you compare them to Iran, Korea, Australia, Japan, and a rising Uzbekistan.
I don't see it that grim because I think everything they're doing right now is building the foundation for the youth to thrive on an even bigger level in the future.
There's no youth right now though. They're not
because
here.
They're kids. I'm talking about the kids that don't even play football. Bro, some kid saw their Saudi Arabian national team beat Messi, bro. Imagine what that's going to do for their fucking mentality growing up. And then they grow up in a league, the Saudi Pro League, seeing, bringing in these major talents like Benzema, Kanté, Jordan Henderson, if you want to throw his name in there too.
Please.
Throwing in these big names, and you're seeing your league just grow and suddenly just immerse itself into the footballing world on a crazy, crazy scale that I don't think is comparable to any other country that has experienced the downfall of a golden generation. You could bring up like a team like Chile, who went down their golden generation. They had nothing else to give. Like that was it for them. The stakes were so much higher because at the club level, there's nothing happening.
Okay,
for Saudi Arabia, I'm actually somewhat hopeful because I've never seen a country undergo just the process they're trying to put their whole country through, and I'm just gonna wait it out until I can be that grim about it, bro, because I truly do think a bunch of these Saudi Arabian kids, the youth, saw some crazy shit happen at the World Cup, has seen what's happened at the league level as well, and I think that might end up paying off in the future because it'll be crazy if Saudi Arabia puts so much money into their own country's league and doesn't see it pan out with at least somewhat of a formidable Saudi Arabian national team.
Okay, I can't argue against that. I actually can't. That's an excellent point. I don't see a flaw in that. I'm personally looking at the next 3 years, 24 to 26. And if this team can't compete and get to a semifinal this year, then they're not doing nothing at 26.
Okay, I'll agree with that.
They're not doing nothing.
I can find it.
And that's why I find it grim, because I was hoping, like Iran, that this Saudi Arabian team would build into their final form at the 2026 FIFA World Cup. But if they can't have a good performance here at this Asian Cup, I think it's over. And the thing is, you're right. There's a lot of young talent waiting to be unearthed. Al-Hossawi for Al-Ittihad, one of the most exciting right backs probably in Asia, bro. There's that. And if you consider all the teenagers that are playing right now, like there's so much that could happen for Saudi Arabia. I'm thinking a little bit more short term, which I guess is why I'm going a little more grim.
Sure.
But it is how I feel right now about the Saudi Arabian team. So personally, I have a lot of pressure on them. Because I want them to do well now, because if they don't, 26 is a wash for them. It's a wash.
But I think they're one of the few teams that can have that exception because it actually fits perfectly in their timeline for 2034 when they host the World Cup. And that gives them 8 years to reset. They have to, in this generation has to die. They have to die for this newfound 100%. Pharaoh-like, Phoenix-like generation to rise from the ashes and play the best Saudi Arabian football imaginable when they host the World Cup in 2034. So I think it's just the process of life maybe that I'm seeing for Saudi Arabia, but for you, it's you want a little bit more than that.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, yes. Seriously, it really is just. I'm looking right now.
Yeah.
I'm not even looking to the future. I'm looking at, can the Saudi Arabian team maximize the talent that they have, and I'm worried that they can't. But when at the bigger picture, my argument doesn't really apply.
Okay. Yeah. I guess that's what I'm saying.
It doesn't apply.
Let's finish off this deep dive, bro. Let's finish off by, I guess, submitting our official predictions for winners of this tournament. We've talked about the contenders, the ones that are on the fringe. Saudi Arabia, South Korea, Australia, Iran, Japan, Uzbekistan if they go on a crazy run. I want to know, just to solidify it, who's the team you're going with as your final prediction as AFC Asian Cup winners 2023?
Japan. And I think hopefully that was clear when we did the Japanese analysis. I think you're there with me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm with you. 100%.
Yeah. I mean, just the narrative that they're on, the way that they're playing football. I see them as not only one of the best teams in Asia, but one of the best teams in all of world football. For them to complete that narrative and lift their continental title, I think will add to the legacy that this team is currently building, and to an evolved state that will ultimately lead to, hopefully, an insane team at the 2026 FIFA World Cup.
I completely agree. I have Japan winning this tournament and continuing their insane rise, their insane momentum, and it'll be a historic victory, man. They haven't won it since 2011, I believe. It'll be big for the country, but also big for the mentality of these players to get some silverware already, to just know that they are champions. They can achieve major things, and to be the kings of Asia going into 2026, that's exactly what I want for them, and what hopes to be a very, very exciting tournament for the Japanese. And just to round out how I rank these contending teams, because, say if Japan doesn't win it, I just want to make sure that I acknowledge some of the other teams that could potentially do it. I have 4 contenders at the end of the day.
Yeah.
4. Ranked number 4, I have Australia potentially being able to do something special. At number 3, I have Iran. And then at number 2, I have South Korea. I'm not fully sure how the bracket will pan out, but I ultimately do predict that we'll have a Japan-South Korea final. But obviously, I will not be surprised if it's Japan against any other one of these teams that I already mentioned.
Yeah, very similar to yours. My top 4 is Australia 4, Korea 3, Iran 2, so a little flip there, Japan number 1. But regardless, bro, once we get to that semifinal stage, bro, holy shit.
Must-see TV.
Yeah, must-watch football. Some of the highest quality that the Asian region has ever seen. Any permutation. Australia, Japan, Korea, Iran, Japan, Iran, Korea, Japan. Like, no matter what matchup we get, it's going to be ridiculous. And truly, once that game comes, I don't know if I'll be able to say who's actually going to win those semifinals, man, because I think the margins are going to be incredibly tight. Man. It's going to be so fun. I cannot wait to see it. And low key, man, once we get to the quarterfinals, we might even see like a crazy matchup or two. And Uzbekistan, I just want y'all to know, as a country, I'm completely with y'all. I am basically Uzbekistani for the next month. I'm going all in. I'm going to be watching every single second. I truly, truly do think that this dark horse in Uzbekistan can pull off something special. And so, yeah, let's see what happens, man.
A massive, massive tournament awaits us in Qatar, and I cannot wait. 5 stars on Spotify. Please, folks, subscribe, like, and comment on YouTube, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.